Hi, I'm Trevor Moore. Did you know that it's illegal to say I want to kill the president? Offense. It's one of the only sentences that you're not allowed to say. Now, it was okay for me to say it right then because I was just telling you that it's illegal to say I want to kill the president of the United States of America. I'm not actually saying it. I'm just letting you know that it's illegal to say that. It's kind of like a public service. I'm letting you know so that you don't accidentally go out and say something like that. But what's interesting is that it's very illegal to say, I really, really think someone out there should kill the president of the United States of America. That's illegal, extremely illegal, very, very illegal, but not illegal to say with a mortar launcher, because that's its own sentence. It's an incomplete sentence, but it may have nothing to do with the sentence before that. So that's perfectly fine, perfectly legal. I also found out that it's incredibly illegal, extremely illegal to go on television and say something like the best place to fire a mortar launcher at the White House would be from the roof of the Rockefeller Hewitt building because of minimal security and you'd have a clear line of sight to the president's bedroom. Insanely illegal. Ridiculously, recklessly, insanely illegal. Yet even more illegal to show an illustrated diagram. Insanely illegal, ridiculously, horribly felonious, because they will come to your house in the middle of the night and they will lock you up. Extremely against the law. One thing that is technically legal to say is that we have a group that meets Fridays at midnight under the Brooklyn Bridge, and the password is 6 Semper Tyrannis.
Hey, welcome on in, everybody, to the Central Committee stream, the home of peace. You know how I knew it wasn't one of my people? Obviously, because I would never advocate for violence. People smile in the chat if you believe in liberalism and gentle persuasion through a logical argument. The reason why I knew it wasn't one of my people, right off the rip, I was at no point I was like, oh yeah, it's not a HASANABI head, it's not a Mike from PA head. I just knew it wasn't. No planning, absolutely no planning. Because, and why did I also know it wasn't one of our people? Because our people are in DSA and they're doing like actual work. The only types of people that are so atomized and so stupid to think that they could like rush security with no plan, that's not one of our people. Our people are out there knocking doors for Zohran Mamdani, and you know what I mean? Our most motivated people are not, you know, sitting around retweeting Will Stancil. You know what I mean? They're out there doing real shit. I had no fear whatsoever that was one of our people. Like, I was just like, yeah, that's not one of ours. The guy booked a hotel year in advance, took a train across the entire country just to rush B. I feel like I can't even really talk about this because I'll get in trouble. So how do I talk about this in a way that is not... Can I? Okay. This, I'm bemused. I am not. This is wee. I do not endorse violence. I do not endorse violence in any way. Assassinations are bad. Assassinations are bad. I think people are calling him the Will Stancil driller, but I kind of don't want to give him that title because I feel like you actually have to hit something to be called a driller. I mean, maybe that's just me. You know, maybe that's just me. And the immortal words of Donald Trump. I like my war heroes that don't get captured. So I don't know about calling him driller. Oil prices surging again. So it's just about time, chat. Oil prices are surging again. It's just about time for another. We're about to do a peace treaty in 5 minutes announcement. If assassinations are bad, is Trump bad for doing that to Iran's leader? Yes. Okay. So what happened over the weekend? Of course, I try to take a couple days off and then someone tries to kill Trump. Of fucking course. I can't even take what? I mean, like, rude. Fucking rude. That's also rude as hell.
The man accused of
fucking rude. Okay? Fucking radical centrist. Didn't want to make sure I got a good stream. Fucking dick. What an asshole. The second thing I would say, and this is, how else do I put this? Do people not understand the concept of death? I really feel like most people don't understand the concept of death. Or like they just like, I feel like this guy doesn't understand the concept of death. I really don't. It's like he decided he wanted to try to shoot Trump. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you were going to do something, that's likely going to end your life. Have you considered, I don't know, reading the Wikipedia page on the Secret Service? Like, have you considered reading the Wikipedia page about the Secret Service? Because I feel like if you did, you would know more than this guy did about presidential security. The other thing is, I gotta say, we gotta read the manifesto because it's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm sorry, guys. I found this to be a giggle. I found this to be the funniest shit ever because it's the most liberal shit I've ever seen in my life. I love the troops in the Secret Service, so I don't want to kill our poor Secret Service. Like, what the fuck is he saying? Do we get banned for reading the manifesto? I feel like you get banned if it's not widely reported by the news. So maybe, I don't think we could like read it, but I think we like, as long as CNN covers it or whatever the fuck we're allowed to. Or did Hassan read it or did he not read it? He summarized from the news. God damn it. God, this is so stupid. This is so fucking stupid. God, that's so, like, why are Twitch, can you stop being so fucking embarrassing with your TOS? You're such an embarrassing website. Your most famous streamer, which is HASANABI Piker, can't even cover the news. I think it's safe to say that Hassan is the most famous streamer now. I think it's actually pretty safe to say he's the most famous streamer. And I know a lot of other people are gonna be like, no, other people have more viewers. And it's like, you know, in the non-political space, there's a lot of incentive to generate not legitimate viewers because of a thing called advertising. Asmid is definitely number one. No, he's not. He's probably more like, I'd say Asmid Gold is probably at least 60% bots. I think he's a big streamer, but he's at least 60%. Anyway, what was I saying? All right. And so going back to not understanding the concept of death. And this is really, really like the moment you decide I'm going to try to shoot the president of the United States, that means your life is over, right? The moment you're like, I'm going to go shoot the president of the United States. So that means you don't have any more credit card bills. That means you don't have to pay your rent anymore. That means that there's not going to be a tomorrow. Okay. That means that all the resources you have, you will lose them when you die. There's no savings. There's no like, you're going to pass down money to your heirs. All that money is going to be taken. Everything you have is going away. You're not going to be able to like leave people shit. You're not going to be able to have a legacy. You're not going to have any of that. The only thing about your life that's going to matter is that you tried to shoot the president. I need to say this because I feel like this is something that everybody should know, but it seems like this guy didn't know that. Hinckley is the exception that proves the rule. Hinckley is the exception that proves the rule because he was already a mentally ill parasocial freak who was obsessed. There's a TikToker. Oh, what's her name? I feel like I've met her in real life. Fuck. She looks like Jodie Foster. Vio, do you know who I'm talking about? The TikToker we met. Who looks like Jodie Foster. Not her. Doesn't look exactly like Jodie Foster. Fuck. No, Stancil doesn't look like Jodie Foster. No. She's like mousy. When you said a couple days ago that all that has to happen is the wrong schizo gets obsessed with you, that shit has been ringing in my ears. Yeah, of course. That's what 90% of violence is. You get the wrong schizo obsessed with you. That's literally it. Or you encounter a schizo right as they're having a fucking break, like psychotic break. That's 90% of violence. You said Jodie Foster looks like a mouse. I mean, pretty common descriptor. God damn it. This sucks. What's her name? I'm really bad at names and it sucks. God damn it. No one's gonna figure. She's pretty popular. Stancil is a character. Like if you met Stancil, you're like, oh, that's Stancil. You're not calling Stancil mousy. Dude, it was definitely not staged. Oh yeah. I mean, here's my general feeling. I don't think it was staged. I just think that liberals are that incompetent. You know, like it's so incompetent that it looks staged, but no, liberals are just that incompetent. They're losing to Trump. Of course, this is her. Yes, Soupy time. Yes, Georgie. Yeah, it's Georgie. Okay, because Georgie had a TikTok called "Impress Me." Someone could find this. No, why can nothing be searched? Why can nothing be searched? You used to be able to like search. You used to be able to search things, but now you can't. Server web crawlers shifted to AI. Yeah, search is dog shit now. I think like that's what people use AI for now, is for search, because it is so bad. But anyway, Georgie made a post called "Impress Me," and it was funny. And I was hoping that a chatter would find it for me, but they didn't. It's okay. Mike, I've been seeing the UK Greens have been expelling members for anti-Semitism. Do you know anything about this? I'm sure that's true because they're so worried that they're gonna get Corbyned. This guy retweeted Dylan Burns and Olivia Giuliana. I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! I fucking knew it! I fucking called it! I knew he was a Destiny supporter! How the fuck is no one saying that, revealing that he's a Destiny supporter? Of course he was! Is this the first Destiny assassin? Honestly, I'm surprised he went after Trump and not Hassan. In America, probably the IDF love his ass. Hold on. I'm sorry, Chad. I got distracted. I was finding. Good morning, by the way. We're just going right into having fun. Obviously, we're talking about the Trump assassin. What do you want me to say? Oh, by the way, chat, have you guys heard the thing that's been going viral about the red button versus the blue button? You guys know what I'm talking about? Chat found your video? Yes.
Often that I look / sound like Jodie Foster. Impress me. I get told kind of often that I look / sound like Jodie Foster. Impress me.
Honest to God, when I saw this TikTok, I was like, oh, Georgie is fucking funny. Holy shit, is Georgie funny. And then from that point on, I was like, Georgie support. Uncritical Georgie support. I called it, chat, by the way. I fucking called it. I just want to see Dylan Birds on Destiny, that follow list, so it's so funny. Yeah! So, okay. So I knew it was a liberal because one, and I said this in Hassan's chat the other day, yesterday, which is like, it's so funny to be like, Donald Trump is a fascist. He's committing crimes all over the world. He's so evil. He's such a piece of shit. And then be like, I love our troops and I love our cops some more. And they are such good boys. And it's only Trump that's bad. Like, it's so funny. It's so funny. It's so fucking funny to be like, Donald Trump is doing all the bad things. Donald Trump is doing all the bad things. Short snapshot of anti-Palestinian post over a month and a half. So many kids either know history or know dates and names but have zero comprehension of motivation and context. Imagine being a student at Columbia Policy School where Clinton is on the faculty and having her go on TV and basically... Yeah, guys, we're ignorant. We're ignorant, guys. We're ignorant. That's what it is. We're ignorant. Yes, there's 1.5 million Palestinians in Israel. You'd think maybe if it was all about ethnic cleansing. Wait, Palestinians, they don't recognize them as Palestinians in Israel. That's the thing that's funny. Israel does not recognize the name Palestinian. They don't say Palestinians in Israel. They say Arab. You don't even know that. You don't even know that Israel doesn't recognize Palestinian as an ethnicity. The ethnicities are Jew, which is not an ethnicity. The ethnicities would be like Sephardic or Beta Israel or Ashkenazi. Those would be the ethnicities, but they don't recognize any of those. They annihilate them all and call them a new settler colonial identity they call Jew. That's what they say at Israel, okay? There's Arab and there is Jew. That's how they do it. Now, if you know anything about Israel, then you would know that. But to say there's 1.5 million Palestinians in Israel would get you shot in Israel. That's what's so funny about these dumb liberals is they think they know what they're talking about. And of course he's stupid. Did you see his assassination attempt? What a fucking idiot. It's tiring these fake leftist trolls still think screaming genocide at the top of their lungs will end conversation and... God, it's so awesome this guy's going to prison for life. This is unacceptable. Must be stopped immediately. It will have repercussions. Humanitarian aid is extremely important. He was replying to Moskowitz? He was retweeting Moskowitz? Liberal Zionists should probably be arrested as a precautionary principle. As a precautionary principle. Just to keep us all safe. The problem is that it's socially acceptable to be anti-Semitic. Brianna Wu! Oh my God! All right, chat. Is the DGG logs, do they still work? Do DGG logs still work? I wonder if he was a DGGer. Has anybody looked? The problem is we don't have any shooters. The problem is like Hasan and I don't have any shooters that are like obsessed with going after our enemies, which sucks. In the sense of like, I mean, hypothetical, not real shooters. I'm using that as an analogy for people that just like look into our enemies, not actual shooters. He was retweeting anti-Assad posts en route to the assassination. A person who thinks Hassan Piker is too radical but then proceeds to try to assassinate the president is something only blue sky could produce. Why does this person hate me? Why does Election Joe block me? Oh, God. These liberals that are hanging off of Hassan's ass are so funny. Holy shit. It's so funny that people that hate Hassan but then use Hassan for clout, which is a lot of people, by the way. That's one of the more depressing things. But I'm not here to ruin your time by telling you your favorite pro-Hassan streamer is actually not pro-Hassan at all. A lot of people that ape as if they are pro-Hassan are always like, oh man, he's like crowding out our space. Don't you agree? And I'm like, no. Brother, I got 2 kids, a wife, and a mortgage. I don't have time for low life like these people. Well, yeah, no shit. Neither do I. No shit. Neither do I. Destiny doing calls for violence?
The great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
Are you gonna be out in the streets with your Glock?
Maybe. I gotta go back to Nebraska and grab it. I'm ready for the fucking the great.
I didn't see anything. Every American needs to see the photos of this anti-Semitic attack. My director and several board members of the Brooklyn Museum had their homes vandalized with revolting intolerance. Chuck Schumer, Dylan Burns, anti-Hassad posts, anti-Palestinian posts, Brianna Wu posts. Come on, come on. He doesn't have any Destiny reposts? God, Destiny has fallen off. Destiny has fallen off. He didn't even Dylan Burns and like, come on. I just want to see Dylan Burns and Destiny in that follow list. Come on. How is this not funny? It's so fucking funny. It is legitimately funny. It is legitimately funny that he's a fan of Olivia Juliana. Like, this is comically funny. Where is we had the Brianna Wu. Where's the Brianna Wu? I feel like this is a banger. Okay, here it is. We're just having fun right now. Chat, what do you want me to say? The guy was a fucking dork. What do you want me to say? He was a fucking dork. Was that post? No, he's retweeting her. That's what retweet means. It isn't an appropriate behavior. It's rape. He is a rapist. He is a child rapist. He was just retweeting her. Sometimes when you search, that's how, by the way, that's how Twitter actually works, is you just post what the person posted again, but there's a UI that then deletes that you're posting it. You see what I mean? And then it just shows the original post. But this is how it originally worked. I'm not, you know, if you're new to Twitter, Georgie is so funny. Instead of regret. And you know, obviously it wouldn't be one of ours, right? Like, obviously it wouldn't be one of ours. Like, you have to be a Dylan Burns fan or Olivia Brianna Wu fan to be like, I love our troops. I love our cops too. I'm gonna run past them because they're such good boys, and they're gonna let me shoot Trump. Like, it's so funny. That is so fucking funny. Oh God, I hope they're wearing bulletproof vests. They're such good boys. Raise their pay as you're running. I love the Secret Service, but I hate Mr. Meanie Trump. Like, it's so funny, dude. Fuck, liberals are so entertaining. God, what goes on in that brain? You have to be a lib to do this because it would have to think killing one guy would actually do anything. Okay. I feel like I can't really discuss this because I'll get in trouble. Listen, okay. I'm going to speak in a way. Everybody's very clear. I don't believe that we should be doing random acts of propaganda of the deed. Okay, that's what this is called. I'm not an anarchist. Okay, I've said this so many times that I'm not an anarchist. Everybody knows that I'm not an anarchist. Everybody understands that I dislike anarchist thought. It's been well established. Okay, I am not an anarchist. I am just describing a certain type of thinking. And as we learned with Luigi Mangione, propaganda of the deed does not result in anything, right? Maybe it could feel cathartic. Maybe like, not for me, because obviously I abhor violence, but other people could feel cathartic from it, right? I abhor violence and anti-Semitism. You know, just make sure you put in the newspaper that I say I abhor violence and anti-Semitism. Okay, moving on. I abhor violence in much the same way I abhor anti-Semitism. Okay, what was I saying? Propaganda of the deed, which is the idea that you could influence public opinion. That's an anarchist thought. And I don't think that it's completely invalid. Like what we saw with the Luigi Mangione is like a lot of people, not necessarily a majority, but a lot of people saw that killing and were like, yeah, he obviously, a health insurance CEO got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And why did they think, yeah, that makes sense? Well, because they know people who have had to go through the horror of having a necessary treatment denied by a greedy insurance company. Or they you pay all this money for premiums and then you try to get care and the insurance company saying no. Okay. So everybody kind of intuitively understood the motivations there were not necessarily like they could see it as they could rationalize it, right? Not that it's good, but they could at least understand why. It's like if somebody kills, like if you have a child and they are abused by someone and the parent goes and kills the abuser, you don't condone it, but you understand it, right? You don't think it's a good idea for people to be murdered on the street, but you understand it. You understand the strong emotions. You understand the feeling of being of revenge or vengeance that person could feel. And so you get it, but you don't necessarily condone it. And you don't want society to be a bunch of people individually getting revenge. That would suck, okay? Well, part of the reason that would suck is because there's uncertainty about guilt. And we don't want to do things that, don't allow us to make up for uncertainty, right? I think that's part of the problem is a lot of people, when they think about these kind of acts, they kind of wash over uncertainty, which is something that you should not do, right? Mike, actioning out of spite, color be surprised. I think spite is a great motivator. I actually think spite is a great motivator. I can't tell you, a lot of the times when you feel low energy or you feel down, and then you think of the people that you despise winning, I don't know about you, but that gets me back up on my feet every time. Hey, time card, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh no, I'm not letting the people that are pieces of shit win. So you should have an enemy. That'll really improve your motivation. At least for me. Maybe that's my personality flaw. Okay? Like, a fascist worked out today. Did you? I mean, that's pretty good, but you need to have an individual in mind. I think the more you could personify the fascist, the better you're gonna do. Centrists think Trump is the only thing that's wrong in the USA. The system is perfect. That's why he thought killing Trump would fix America. Okay, yeah, getting back to it. All right. So, would killing of Trump fixed America? Killing Trump have fixed America? Absolutely not. I would say that clearly and unequivocally. Shooting Trump dead at the White House Correspondents' Dinner would not have fixed America. In fact, it may have caused America to get worse. And the reason why I say that is they would have the fascists in the White House would have used it as a justification for cracking down on the left, right? And that includes Democrats. And the media would have went along with it, and the fascists in the Silicon Valley would have went along with it. So I feel like shooting Trump dead right now would have absolutely not made America better off. You know, President JD Vance would not be good for us. I actually think letting Trump die out slowly over time is better for our movement. Him being a fucking loser failure and getting humiliated in the elections and then whining and crying, complaining as everyone hates his guts and he slowly kind of sinks into irrelevance. I think that would be better for America than shooting him dead and creating a martyr and creating a mythos around Trump and the stabbed in the back narrative and everything else that would come around out of that. Right? I don't think that would be good for America to shoot him dead, that's just my opinion. The best case scenario is that we win all these Senate seats with left-wingers, and then we run AOC in 2028, and all the liberals try to backstab her, and the American people see that, and they fucking throw out everybody who tried to and everyone else is intimidated, and we get some sort of New Deal type program, and the Democratic Party has a realignment around her politics. That's the best case scenario for the immediate short term. And that's going to open up more socialist thought. And hopefully the right does something so fucking unhinged. We have more justification for suppressing them. That's kind of the best case scenario. But the thing about that is we have to be seen as the injured party. We have to be seen as responding. right? We can't be aggressive. If we're aggressive, that turns people off. We have to be seen as responding. So that's something you need to understand, chat, is that you have to be seen as the victim responding, and then you can get away with a lot more. The way leftists are acting, I don't know if we will coalesce around AOC, guys. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess we'll see. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that get popular off of doing anti-AOC from the left. I don't think that's gonna be. I don't think that's the future of left-wing content creation. Just like I don't think being anti-Bernie from the left was very good for you in 2020 or 2016. Most of those people are now right-wingers. Like, I don't think that that's actually going to be a success, but I guess we'll see. My problem with AOC is she needs to get into more uncomfortable spaces than she's in right now. I think AOC is a little bit too sensitive. That's like and I've said that for a long time. Okay, anyway, so what was I saying? Okay, so propaganda of the deed is the idea that you could attack a CEO or a president or a prince or a king or whatever, and you kill them, and it'll demonstrate to the masses the vulnerability of the hierarchy, and that will motivate more people to take direct actions and create kind of a spirit of revolt, right? You know what I mean? Like you are showing to people the vulnerability of the system, and so that people will do 1,000 acts of rebellion in an uncoordinated mass faction. This is the anarchist praxis. It's stupid as fuck. But that's their argument, right? And I don't believe in it. I don't think this is true. However, I do think that the individual acts of rebellion could create a sense of discontent, right? Where it's more of like a reflection of the discontent rather than something that creates it, right? Like if you're not seeing individual acts of rebellion, then people aren't really that pissed off, right? So you're going to see more individual acts of rebellion because people are so pissed off, which is a signal that, you know, people are ready to break the norms. Like that's what this signals more to me than anything. This like assassination attempt shows me that liberals are getting to the point where they recognize that Donald Trump is a threat. We could always pivot and run Graham Plattner. Obama, I don't want to run Graham Plattner for president, personally. I don't want anybody who doesn't recognize themselves as a socialist. I will support them. I will support them because the primary contradiction of our day is Zionism. So Mao talks about that. Mao, like, obviously, the baseline conflict in our world is between bourgeois and the worker. Like, everybody understands that, right? Like, I don't have to repeat myself 50 times. Like, we all are leftists, so we understand that the primary contradiction or the primary conflict of our world is the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat. Like, we're all on the same page. I don't have to say that anymore. So what Mao recommends, if you ever read any Mao, is that you try to identify the primary contradiction within the space that is separate and above what I said before, which is the baseline, right? And in America today, Zionism is it. The establishment is Zionist. And then there's the opposition to Zionism. And all the problems that we talk about are filtered through that rubric. And you can use, is someone an anti-Zionist or is someone not, as a clean division between the establishment and the anti-establishment, right? And liberal Zionists are establishment. Even if they say, well, you know, Israel does some bad things, they're still fundamentally on the side of maintaining the status quo, right? And so Zionism is our primary contradiction in the world. And states that support Zionism, like Ukraine, like Taiwan, like, you know, Europeans, they're fundamentally on the side of American empire. Now, it doesn't mean that in their individual circumstances it would be good. It doesn't mean that Russia invading Ukraine was good, okay? In fact, it probably made Ukraine more dependent upon the empire for self-defense. So they had to align themselves more with Israel, as an example, right? But fundamentally, they're an ally of Israel. Taiwan is a huge ally of Israel, all right? And so the primary contradiction between the United States, you know, between U.S. empire or U.S. allies is on the question of Zionism. Not sure about your specific issue, but Mike knows the mobile app is garbage. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry that TikTok mobile app sucks. I fucking hate it. Every time I try to use it, it's pausing every 5 fucking minutes and just pissing me off. It blows. Supreme Court has handed Republicans a redistricting victory, striking down a lower court's block on the Texas congressional map. Doesn't that set the precedent for the egregious Virginia map? Of course it does, except they don't care about that. They'll, like, you know, the Supreme Court could just like make up some bullshit reason that the Virginia map's bad, right? MJD, thank you for the 10 gifties. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Where are we at sub count? Okay, we are at 59, 60, 6599, chat. 6599. Bennett is a former speaker of the Judea and Samaria Council. He is a zealot, ultra-nationalist. The Lapid, self-appointed champion of secular liberal Israel, would yield to him as a final nail in the coffin. Religious Zionism has been building since the assassination of Rabban. Yeah, oh, of course. Israel is Zionist as fuck. Like, there is no left in Israel. Everybody knows that. No one's confused about that. No one's fucking confused about that. Eventually, the EU will realize that Ukraine isn't a real country. I mean, Ukraine is a real country, but they're not gonna like fight on behalf of Ukraine. They're just gonna use Ukrainians. They don't give a shit about Ukraine. All right, let's watch more about the assassination.
Firearm and assault charges. You see him here in this photo. We have learned that the suspect purchased 2 firearms legally in recent years. You're looking at one of them, a shotgun. And just before the attack, he allegedly sent a note to family members expressing political anger and plans to target members of the administration. Well, he wrote in that note, quote, "I don't expect forgiveness."
We did obtain this so-called manifesto. That is what agents and administration officials are referring to, these writings from the suspect. We are told that he sent this manifesto to his family members roughly 10 minutes before the incident occurred. But these officials also told me that the family members did not see this until after the incident, and that's when they reported it to local authorities. One thing is clear, though, in these writings, this suspect did set out to harm cabinet officials in Trump's cabinet. In fact, this line in particular, it says, administration officials, they are targets prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. And then he goes into saying that he's not going to be targeting law enforcement. Of course, we know he did end up exchanging fire with one of those agents who, of course, thankfully was wearing protective gear and is expected to be all right.
So joining me now is CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe. So, Andy, to start, can you talk about the value of a manifesto? I have to admit, when there are mass shootings, we tend not to quote from them. What's going to be significant in this?
Thank you guys for all the resubs. I appreciate you. Can we get some bended knees for the tier 3s? Did we get any tier 3s? Okay, maybe we didn't get any tier 3s. I thought we got a tier 3, but we didn't get any tier 3s. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, Audie, so the primary thing that investigators...
Oh, Mike, you were going to say something about red and blue buttons. Oh, yeah. Okay, before we go on. The red and blue buttons. I have a solution for the red and blue button. Okay, so here it is. Everybody in the world is given a blue button and a red button and must choose one to press. If 50% plus of people press the blue button, everyone lives. If 50+% of people press the red button, everyone who pressed blue dies. Which button would you press? First of all, the answer is about 60-some% of people are pressing the blue button, at least. The other thing that I would say is, and this is very important, I think we should arrest everyone who presses the red button. Not only would I press the blue button, I would then go around with a gun and arrest everybody who pressed the red button for they need mental health care. They're mentally ill. I think it is the best self-declaration of mental illness if you press the red button. Every single red button pusher should go to prison and have intensive mental health treatment, and they should be monitored. It's not a difficult question. It's not a difficult question. It's you press blue and there's no hesitation. If you press red, you should go to prison. And it's really just that simple. As I said, blue button, easy blue button victory. Easy blue button victory. Easy blue button victory. At least 60% voted blue every fucking time. It's easy. I already know this because this pretty much lines up with how you are on the political spectrum. If you're a right winger, you press red. Everyone who's not a right winger presses blue. And that's the vast majority of people. I mean, it's so fucking easy. It's so fucking easy. And if you're one of these people, I doubt there's many red buttoners in the chat, but I'm sure some of you are like, well, Mike, I have to ensure, I ensure my own survival by pushing the red button. That's why we're going to arrest you. Like, for society to function, you have to punish the red buttoners. Being a red buttoner needs to be punished. Societies fail when red buttoners are rewarded. That is the prisoner's dilemma, in case you want to know. The solution to the prisoner's dilemma is you punish betrayers harder than cooperators. You never let betrayers profit. That's how society functions, is that the vast majority of people are intuitive cooperators. Some people are sociopathic betrayers. And so when somebody betrays, you've got to grab them and smash them. And you have to make it be so obvious to everybody that being a red buttoner equals death. We're not going to let you get away with being a red buttoner. We're not death. Gentle talk therapy until you understand why blue is the right button to push. A society that tells you that pushing red is correct is a broken society. Now, before people get going and they're going to be like, well, Mike, the red button, if everybody pushed red, then everybody would survive, and bobbity, and all these other arguments that people might make. You know that some people are going to push blue, even by accident. You know that there's going to be some blue pressers. And in solidarity with those blue pressers, I press blue every fucking time. Even if only the dumbest people push blue, I'm pushing blue. Why? Because I don't want to live in a society with reds. I don't want to live in a world with just red button pushers. I'd rather go out pushing blue than ever be associated with pushing red. Mike just said vote blue no matter who. Well, I'm talking about the blue button press, but you get my point. And that's why the solution of this button pushing game is if somebody's a red button pusher, they should be arrested for trying to kill everybody. Pushing the red button is an act of attempted murder. And everybody who pushes the red button should go to prison. And that's how you solve it. Can I post this one in 60 minutes? There is an empty burning building. Would you rather jump into a burning building to potentially save some people that also jumped into a burning building, or just walk away? The answer is, if I know there's people in the burning building, I'm going to save the burning building people. Especially if I know enough people running in will put the fire out. This is better. The analogy would be, you have a bucket of water. If enough people run into the building with the bucket of water, the fire will be put out. If not enough people run in, all the people who ran in with buckets are going to die. You have a bucket. What are you going to do? That's the answer. That's the analogy. For the millionth time, I'm pressing red. You guys shouldn't be risking yourself for no reason. I'm arresting you and I'm putting you in prison. And that's really the answer. The answer to the question of how do you solve the prisoner's dilemma is you have to make betrayal painful. And that's how society works, by the way. That's how society works. Societies function where betrayal of your fellow man is so bad for you. It's so obviously the wrong choice. You don't even consider it. That's how you know a society is functioning, is when somebody's a fucking evil piece of shit, they die. And so people just stop considering it. That's why in China, you could put your fucking cell phone in the middle of the sidewalk and it's not getting stolen because people don't even consider stealing. It's not even in their choice matrix. But there's no fire at the button analogy. People are at no risk until they press blue. But here's why this is why you red button justifiers need to go to prison. I'm going to explain it to you again. You have absolute certainty that some people are going to push blue. Even if you can backwards rationalize why pushing red is not bad, if people also rationally correctly figured it out, the red button is the only button that kills people. By pushing the red button, you are a killer. The blue button is the safe button where nobody dies. So by pushing the red button, you are killing another. Even if it's only one person who stumbles and accidentally pushes the blue button, you are the killer if you're the red button pusher. If you're a blue button pusher, all you're doing is risking yourself for others. It's a purely altruistic act, while pushing the red button is a purely selfish act of murder. There is no justification for pushing red. And it's just that simple. Who built this machine? Evil aliens who are trying to prove a point. The aliens, by the way, if a majority of humanity pushes red, they're going to glass the planet because we're an evil species. But if the majority of humanity pushes blue, they're going to come down and give us replicator technology. So the alien, it's the final test of a species before the aliens decide whether to glass us or come down and help us. Glorp is sitting there. What is replicator technology? Replicator technology is the ability to create any material object on demand, on command. So like you can a replicator could you push, I would like a car, please, and they instantly create a brand new car for you. Oh, I would like a 4-course Michelin-starred chef-made meal. It instantly gets generated for you. That's replicator technology. I would like a cup of Earl Grey tea. Instantly created for you. Oh, they're saving Jared Moskowitz? Per Fox News, new Florida map proposed by Governor Ron DeSantis would target 4 Dev seats, aiming to convert a 20R8D delegation to 24R4D. But a year like 2026, not all of the 24 seats would be safe for the GOP. By the way, they passed an amendment saying they can't gerrymander. Hate to see it. Notice how the Republicans are just doing it while the Democrats are all voting for it. And by the way, there's no counter argument to the red versus blue button. Like, there is a correct answer. The answer is push blue. It's a good morality test. It's a good test of whether someone is a vicious piece of shit. Push blue, jail red. Correct.
You're attacking Hassan Piker. You're fighting. It doesn't make any sense. Do you want to win? You will never win unless you let go of the anger. You have to let go of the anger. Stop being mad that Meghan Trainor lost weight. Stop being mad that Tucker Carlson criticized Trump. Stop being mad that Hassan Piker said things you don't like about Hamas. Whatever, who cares? I don't agree with Hassan Piker on a lot of stuff, but it doesn't matter. You have to lead by not being insufferable cunts. I'll say it again. You have to lead by not being insufferable cunts. Can you do it for 5 minutes? You'll never have a better opportunity.
Did you guys see that Bad and Panada got Boots Riley to respond? And this is why people do it. This is why people are annoying pieces of shit. This is why people act like Gremlo or Cinemarxism, where they act like annoying pieces of shit that make accusations that are totally off base, so they can call you all sorts of things that you aren't. So you force like you feel like you have to respond. I'm so tired of Hassan analysis. All right, we're now doing weed maps analysis. We have decided to make you the target of we're going to find out everything we can about you. I've decided to do weed map analysis. Is this your Twitter? No, I don't think this is your Twitter. Is it? Weed maps. No, you got scared for a second, didn't you? You got scared for a second. Then shut your fucking mouth, because somebody else is tanking the shit for you.
This motherfucker in a year and a half has lit the goddamn world on fire. If you lose the next election, pack the fuck up. If the Democrats don't sweep the midterms, pack up. You have to win by not being insufferable cunts. I know it is hard. I know it is difficult for you to, for 5 minutes, rein it in, but it's necessary. Rein it in and maybe look at some of the people that are agreeing with you or helping you. I'm not saying you have to praise them. I'm not saying you have to praise Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson or me or Theo Von or whatever, whoever you're angry at today, who's ever ruined your life this afternoon. I'm just saying you keep making enemies all the time. You're addicted to making enemies. And if you don't want a Christian nationalist, the Handmaid's Tale country, which I certainly don't want, and most people I know don't want, some people I know do. If you don't want that, then you need to take power, and you need to take power by not being insufferable. And
Fox News and CNN covering Hassan and blame for the Trump assassination attempt. They are treating him as the de facto leader of the American left. They're treating him exactly how the UK media has treated Polanski. It's like, I'm so tired of the Hassan analysis as right-wingers are targeting Hassan and blaming him for an assassin who wasn't even a fan of his. And you're telling me stop talking about Hassan. You are my enemy. You are even more my enemy than the Republicans who are attacking Hassan directly, because you make our side dumber. You make our side less capable. You're actually more damaging than them. At least from the outside, we could all point at them and say that's an enemy. You're in our camp fucking up shit and wasting my time. Honestly, self-select out. Go over to Bad and Panada stream or wherever the fuck else. Get out. You are useless. Like, you are actually fucking useless. Notice that nobody gives a shit about Bad and Panada. Nobody's attacking Bad and Panada. Nobody's going out of their way to expose Bad and Panada. Nobody gives a shit because he's helping the fascists with their project of disrupting the American left so that the Israelis can complete their genocide and America can genocide Iran and shatter it into a bunch of fucking stands and take its quality of life to zero, just like they did with Libya, just like they did with Syria. You are fucking useless. Demoralizing dipshits.
Angry. Nobody wants to follow that.
Let's slow the roll. Just one message. It could be fatigued by the media cycle. Eat my shit. I'm sorry, I don't have any more patience for you. If you've been watching my stream for months and your reaction is to come in here and go, I'm so tired of talking about Hassan. Oh God, so tired of the Hassan Discord. Shut the fuck up. I don't care. Shut up. Eat my shit. Guys literally being targeted by the fucking state, by Israeli intelligence agencies, by all sorts of spies and agents and saboteurs who have literally murdered people. And you're like, well, it's just drama. Shut the fuck up. I'm tired of talking about you. I'm tired of thinking about people like you. When I come into my space, I'm going to have to listen to the dumbest pieces of shit with no clout, no ability to get their message out, come in, create a counter narrative within my own chat that distracts from the shit we were actually talking about, piss me off, waste my time, ruin the vibes. You are more damaging than the enemy. And it's like, this is my friend. I know we're just people on a screen to you, but this is my friend. They want to kill this guy. Fox News is saying, test his front door lock. Like, get your shit together, you fucking weak, pathetic loser.
You're attacking Hassan Piker. You're fighting. It doesn't make any sense.
God damn it. It's just so disgusting. Probably these chatters think it's Twitch drama. I don't know who these morons are. I don't know why you're stupid, but you are. And I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing it. And I want everybody to dogpile every single person who says this type of shit in my chat so I don't have to. The next time somebody's like, oh gosh, we're talking about Hassan again, I want all of you to dogpile them in the chat so they never come here again. Okay? Like, I don't want you to be nice. I don't want you to tolerate it. I want it to be so toxic to every single person who comes in here and it's like, let's ignore Hassan being attacked by the biggest Zionist enemies and fascists and billionaires on the planet. I just don't want to see you guys here anymore. You're just not accepted here anymore at all. I don't know what else to say. I found a new, honestly heartwarming interview that's making me rethink the whole Hassan situation. It's an interview of a dog trainer at Kaya, but how Kaya felt when Kaya was finally adopted by Hassan. Basically, Kaya was left for months without an adopter. This is part of the interview where Kaya says, when I finally told I was chosen, I was so happy. And even better, when I found out I was world famous streamer Hassan Piker, I was shocked. Hell yeah, brother. I think the thing about Hassan and the like dog shocking meme is it's like nobody cares about that. Like if you go to like most fucking suburban neighborhoods, they have invisible fences, which are what? Shock collars that automatically shock the dog if you get close to the edge of the yard. Like, shocking dogs is not just, it's like standard in America. There's literally tens of millions of dogs that are going to be shot today in America with shock collars. It's like, and then right-wingers, Palmer Luckey was talking about Hassan shocking his dog as if they think it's some sort of moral crime, right? Or they think that I'm going to be offended by it. I think you're talking to the wrong guy, man. I don't know. Maybe you might be stupid. I'm not sure. Like, do you think, and also, I got to be honest, you're coming to the wrong place. I'm not a liberal. Like, I don't have any of those beliefs. I don't have my beliefs because of some sort of deep well of empathy. I think you're confusing me with someone else. Ukraine is winning the war. Ukrainian soldiers left emaciated on front line from lack of food and water. Top commander fired after wife of one malnourished soldier posted shocking images on social media. Ukraine's defense ministry fired a top commander after photos emerged of a group of emaciated soldiers who have been left on the front line for months without proper food and water. The scandal erupted after the wife of one of the soldiers, Anastasia Silchuk, posted the images on social media. The four men appeared to be pale and visibly malnourished, with prominent rib cages and thin arms. The soldiers had spent 8 months defending a shrieking bulge of territory on the left bank of the Oskil River near the northeastern Ukrainian city of Polpansk. Their relatives said supplies of food and medicines could only be flown in by drone. When the lads arrived at the front lines, they weighed over 80 to 90 kilograms, but now they weigh around 50 kilograms, Silchuk posted. After one delivery, she said, no more food turned up for 10 days. The soldiers were forced to drink rainwater and melt snow to survive. The longest they went without food was 17 days. They weren't listened to on the radio, or perhaps no one wanted to listen to them. My husband shouted and begged, saying there was no food and water. The fighters are losing consciousness from hunger. Ukraine's general staff said it had replaced the commander who was responsible for feeding the soldiers. The brigade acknowledged that there were logistical problems and said deliveries were only possible by air because their location was extremely close to enemy lines. Everything is done by drones. The Russians pay maximum attention to deliveries of food, ammunition, and fuel. They intercept and shoot down as much as possible. Sometimes they are so interested in our military equipment as in logistics, actually. God. Fox News was calling Hassan a radical Islamist yesterday. Yeah, it just pisses me off so fucking much that here I am after I've explained it so many fucking times that the reality is that Hassan is the most important leftist voice in the country that's not a politician. And if people come in here as he's being targeted by senators and Fox News, they're doing 8 stories on him. People come in here and tell me how they're tired of hearing about Hassan. And it's like, I don't even know what to say anymore. Am I worried about Hassan's safety?
You got Bernie Sanders doing it every minute of the day. He lives to trash our country. You've got people in the House who admire some of the worst mass murders on the face of the earth. And I want to ask you about one person individual, this guy, Hassan Piker, who is a radical Islamist, if not jihadist. He celebrates 9/11. He says he has no patriotic connection to the United States.
Everything they want to do to Hassan, they want to do to every leftist. That's why it matters. That's exactly why Weed Maps with the Z was like, that's why he had to be treated like that, which is like, oh, I want you to leave Hassan and allow him to be targeted. Well, how about I target you instead? How about I give you 0.0001% of the negative attention? See what it's like when you get abandoned by everybody and you're targeted. Now suddenly I'm just a Twitch streamer. I'm just a small Twitch streamer and I'm saying, hey, let's look at the Weed Map Z. Now suddenly it feels very uncomfortable and frightening right off the bat, instantaneously. You get it right away. It's not cool, is it? Suddenly you get it right away. Everybody's ignoring you being targeted. That would be fucking evil. Now, obviously, all I did is click on your name and say your name in chat and say, wow, let's look at the Weed Maps. And that was intimidating enough for people to be like, wow, that's a mean thing to say. Obviously, no one's harassing you. No one's actually bullying you. I would time that out and ban those people immediately. But just entertaining the idea that you might be targeted with no help will put the fear of God into you instantly. And it's like Hassan is dealing with nonstop credible death threats. People doxing his house. Senators on Fox News calling him a terrorist. And you want him to be made an example of with no help? Absolutely not. I'm defending Hassan because that's defending myself, dummy. Defending Hassan is defending you, dummy. You've given money to me. That means that you are a terrorist supporter. That's how easily those things can change. The United States of America is threatening to revoke green cards for their views on Israel. In guidance to immigration officers, the administration describes participating in pro-Palestinian protests and criticizing Israel as overwhelmingly negative factors. This is not the, oh, everybody, are you feeling tired stream? You should do self-care. That's not this stream. If you're not tired, you're not working hard enough. Tiredness is your baseline. If you're not tired, why are you relaxed? Why are you taking it so fucking easy? For decades, immigrants who have followed the rules and have not broken the law have had hopes of earning a green card, a document that allows them to live legally in the United States and gain a path to citizenship. But under new guidance issued by the Trump administration, immigrants can now be denied a green card for expressing political opinions such as participating in pro-Palestinian campus protests, posting criticism of Israel on social media, and desecrating the American flag, according to internal Department of Homeland Security training materials reviewed by the New York Times. The documents, which have not been previously reported, show how expansively the Trump administration is carrying out a directive from last August to vet green card applicants for anti-American and anti-Semitic views. The administration includes criticism of Israel as a potentially disqualifying factor, with the training materials citing as an example of questionable speech on a social media post that declares, "Stop Israeli terror in Palestine." It shows the Israeli flag crossed out. The administration is granting permanent legal residency to far fewer applicants. Green card approvals have been followed by more than half in recent months, according to the Times analysis of agency data. There's no more room in America for aliens who espouse anti-American ideologies or support terrorist organizations. Critics of Mr. Trump's approach say the administration is seeking to restrict legitimate political speech and has conflated opposition to the Israeli government policies with anti-Semitism. Basing green card decisions on ideological screenings is fundamentally un-American and should have no place in a country built on the promise of free expression, said Amanda Moran, senior agency official under President Joseph R. Biden Jr. Administration officials say they were defending American values. If you hate America, you have no business demanding to live in America. Abigail Jackson, a White House spokeswoman, said the administration policies have nothing to do with free speech and were meant to protect American institutions, the safety of citizens, national security, and the freedoms of the United States. The freedoms you cannot criticize another country. The Department of Homeland Security has proposed reviewing the social media histories of tourists seeking to visit the United States. Ideology has traditionally been one of those factors. In some cases, U.S. law forbids officers from granting green cards to people who belong to communist or other totalitarian political party, have promoted anarchy, or have been called for the overthrow of the U.S. government by force or violence or other unconstitutional means. But in the past, immigration officers have focused on statements that could incite or encourage violence, given concerns about infringing on constitutionally protected speech. They discourage officers from granting green cards to people with a history of endorsing, promoting, or supporting anti-American views or anti-Semitic terrorism ideologies or groups. In addition, the guidance describes the desecration of the American flag as a negative factor. The Supreme Court has ruled that flag burning is a form of political expression protected by the First Amendment. Immigration officers must elevate all cases involving potentially anti-American or anti-Semitic conduct or ideology to their managers and to the agency's general counsel office for review, according to the documents. In recent months, the agency has been changed the way it refers to the employees who adjudicate green card applications, long known as immigration services officers, a job posting, and now calls them homeland defenders. Protect your homeland and defend your culture, one posting says. Now, this is the problem with like thinking that Donald Trump is the problem and everything else is okay, right? And the Democratic Party thinks that these guys are okay. I mean, the Dylan Burns supporting assassin said in his manifesto how much he loved the police.
The 31-year-old suspect who had no criminal record and was once named Teacher of the Month by his employer. But he did apparently write about his goals just moments before the alleged attack. Chief Correspondent Matt Gutman was also in the ballroom last evening and has more now. Matt, good evening.
Good evening, Tony. We're also learning more about how he allegedly did this. Sources telling us he went from his room on the 10th floor using a back staircase to evade security, carrying a duffel bag filled with weapons. And as soon as he was tackled, this breakneck investigation began into who this assailant was and how he managed to pierce what should have been the most secure spot on the planet.
That frenzied investigation into the suspect began overnight with this image posted by President Trump less than 2 hours after the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Down on his stomach, shirtless, hands zip-tied behind him, he was soon identified as Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old teacher from Southern California with no criminal record. Apparently telling officers at the scene he was targeting administration officials. Police said they believe he opened fire on a Secret Service officer before being taken down. Within seconds, Secret Service stormed the room, preceded by those gunshots and clattering plates. As agents with long guns flooded in, we filmed. They bundled off the president, and now CBS News has confirmed that 12 of the 18 in the top line of presidential succession were also present.
So right there at the dais where you see that flag, that's where President Trump was sitting. Up the stairs here, just over that landing where the gunman sprinted, apparently trying to get to some of these stairs, and that's where he was taken down, right over there.
Investigators tell us the suspect had planned the attack, believed to have left this suburban house south of Los Angeles on a train to Chicago on April 21st, arriving on April 23rd, Thursday. By Friday, the 24th, they say, he had checked into the Washington Hilton.
And multiple sources telling CBS News that the suspect stayed here on the 10th floor in one of these rooms at the very end of the corridor.
This individual was intent on doing as much harm and as much damage as he could.
We have also learned that Allen, Teacher of the Month in December of 2024 at a test preparation academy, had recently done target practice. And that night he posted writings described by law enforcement as a manifesto, which CBS News has reviewed. It was scheduled to be sent between 8 and 8:30. The shooting happened at 8:34 p.m. It begins with an apology to his family, friends, even those he traveled next to. He said he would target administration officials, and he wrote he did not expect to survive the incident. And like many guests, the alleged gunman was surprised by the security protocol. Writing, I expected security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors. What I got is nothing. No damn security, not in the hotel, not in the event. The Secret Service has said their security protocol worked.
This is a multi-layered approach. The point of this checkpoint is to intercept individuals that were there.
And agents involved in securing the event tell us that agents were at tables, even undercover as hotel staff.
And in conversations with the Secret Service, they continue to say that their safety net worked. And they say that the evidence for that is that the president was kept in that ballroom for a period of time, and that's because it was the safest place in that entire hotel. Now, we expect that suspect to be arraigned here in Washington tomorrow. And, Tony, it is very likely that he will face additional charges.
We'll keep watching it, Matt. Thank you very much.
President Trump and the First Lady.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner suspect sent a manifesto to his family. CBS News reviewed what's in it. The White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting suspect wrote a manifesto that stated he planned to target Trump administration's officials, prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. I think one of the things that's so funny about this is it's like, maybe it's just like the background I have, you know, coming from a military family, you know, having the training that I have, having the experiences I have, where it's like, how could people don't think violence is a skill? Like, why do people think that you could just do horrific violence with actually no training, no practice, no knowledge? You're just gonna be able to walk up and point the pew pew at them. But you played Call of Duty and now you think you know how to like commit violence? I mean, yes, you could take a gun to a fucking public place and randomly shoot it to a crowd, but you're not trying to do that. You're trying to do like a surgical assassination strike. I mean, he was aware of the concept of a bulletproof vest. Why didn't he wear one? It's just like crazy to me. It's like, oh, you could have done smoke grenades. You could bring in a gas. You could bring in a respirator. You could throw smoke grenades to help block vision. You know, there is thermals. There are, you know, body armor. There are ballistic face masks. There are helmets. There are, you know, all sorts of there's drone technology, there's improvised explosive devices. The guy's like, I'm gonna go to the hotel and walk into the ballroom and shoot Trump. Like, what the fuck are you saying? It doesn't even make sense. I'm not encouraging anybody to do anything. It's just like, the guy says, I'm gonna go kill the president, and spends more time tweeting about Hassan than thinking about how he's gonna actually do it. It's so funny. It's so fucking funny. It's like, when I was a Boy Scout or a Cub Scout and I was making a fucking little soapbox racer, I thought more about my soapbox racer than this guy did about assassinating the president. That's actually incredible to me. It's like this guy thinks he's the fucking main character of a video game or something, doing Yelp reviews on the security. Apparently pretty good at caught your ass before you did a goddamn thing. It's like, Jesus. And it's like, that's what's so funny about, like, this is something that, you know, you study in political philosophy or you study in political science and sociology, and it's something that people kind of intellectually understand. Okay, what was I saying? Oh, sorry, I got distracted by a dumb thing. Okay, which is the main impediment to violence is you. And when I say you, what I mean is the fact that you don't want to commit it. You are not protected from violence by locks. You're not protected from violence by the police. You are protected from violence by the fact that everybody you encounter doesn't want to commit violence. That's what protects you from violence. It is a self-imposed restriction on violence. It is your own mental prison and their mental prison. By the way, that's good. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that's very good, that human beings do not want to commit violence against other human beings. It requires a social pressure or profound mental illness in order for people to commit violence. It has to be strictly and clearly incentivized. And now there's a few people that they have a screw loose and they'll commit violence. But what makes people not commit violence is themselves, not the structures of state. Structures of state are at best a backstop. If it turns out that he did not actually shoot the one Leo in the vest, how much of a surprise would it be to find out his weapons were not? I mean, I don't fucking know, dude. The reason why America is so powerful is because we are the most psychotic country. We spend the most amount of effort and money on violence and preparing to do violence. And one of the things that, you know, always depresses me about the left, especially the online left, is discussions of revolution are embarrassing. And they're embarrassing not because I don't believe in the power of revolution. Revolution is clearly a powerful way of achieving change. It's because none of the people that advocate for revolution are revolutionaries. I don't think you should be able to advocate for something you don't know how to personally do. Like in the sense of like to the alternative of something else. Like if you're saying we should not do reform, we should do revolution, and you're not a revolutionary, that's cringe. That is a cringe position. And revolution is a task set. Being a revolutionary is a skill set. And I think it's fascinating how so many people consider themselves revolutionary leftists and they lack that skill set. And they're not even curious enough to get it. You know, I run into a lot of people advocating revolution and I never see them actually doing revolutionary activity. And it's like, how does that your politics? How is your politics? I hate Zoran Mamdani. I'm a revolutionary leftist. That's why I have a black flag in my Twitter account. Like, how is that a real person? And that's why you all know who Che Guevara is, because Che Guevara was an actual revolutionary. That's why you know who Che is, because the number of actual revolutionaries is so fucking small that when somebody actually goes out and learns and practices it, everybody knows who the fuck they are because they're so rare. I haven't figured out how to make money being revolutionary. I'm too poor to do much else but work and sleep. Fancy meeting you here in my Twitch stream. I'm going to say something that's going to shock a lot of people. Revolution is law-breaking activity. It's an illegal activity. You know what else might be illegal? You might be able to get resources from doing? Just think about that for a second. Anyway, let's keep going. According to Cole Allen, 31, wrote that law. And by the way, I think self-identification, that's why you'll never hear me say that I have that I'm a revolutionary, because I take that title very seriously. And I know what I would need to do if I wanted to become a revolutionary. I know what tasks I need to perform. I know what items I need to acquire. I know what activities I would engage in. I know what, you know, I know what I would do. I know what skills I need to pick up. But I don't want to do that shit because you'd probably die. And I like living. So I don't put myself in that category. I don't put the cloak of revolutionary politics onto myself because that would be LARPing. That would be like saying I'm a fucking wizard or something. Allen charged a security checkpoint outside the diner, armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and knives. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanchett, Mr. Trump, and other administration officials were quickly escorted out of the event, which was canceled shortly thereafter. One of the things that's really funny of this is he was like, "I'm going to kill Trump, but I'm not going to harm a head. I'm not going to harm a hair on the head of our beautiful Secret Service." Secret Service officers are literally trained to physically interpose their body in front of the president. The liberalism of this brain is probably one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. I love our law enforcement. This is the Trump shooter. Yeah. Back to last gun. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. And when I'm in the jam, I know that I can call up the man, can call. That's the Dylan Burns shooter. Law enforcement sources told CBS News that Allen's brother, alarmed by the email he and other family members received, called police in Connecticut to alert them Saturday night. Authorities said they found other writings at his home in Torrance, California, and at his 10th floor hotel room at the Washington Hilton Hotel where the dinner was being held. I may have given a lot of people a surprise today. Not really. Not really. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely not a leftist shooter. Definitely not. There was a leftist shooter. There was a leftist shooter. We can all admit there was a leftist shooter. It's the guy who took out the 2 people at the Israeli embassy, the German Zionist. You know, that guy, he was a left-wing shooter. He was a left-wing shooter. And I'm not encouraging that. I think it's bad. I think that was adventurism in the sense of not a good thing. I know you think adventure means good. Adventurism is a technical term. It's not a good thing. That was a left-wing shooter. And he took out 2 Israeli embassy workers, right? That was a left-wing shooter. And he shot 2 low-level embassy workers. That was a left-wing shooter. So it does happen. It does happen. But I knew this guy wasn't. I just intuitively knew it. I wasn't even, honestly, chat, I don't know how. I could just feel the vibes of liberalism. Like when I heard about it, I wasn't even excited. I think I texted Caroline and I was like, LOL. This isn't one of ours. There's no way. And you know, obviously I don't want anybody to do this type of shit because I think it's fucking stupid. You're not going to succeed because you don't know how. Like it's so, that's kind of the other point I'm making is it's like, why, like leftists in America are so childish on violence. It's crazy how childish they are. It's actually one of the most embarrassing parts of being a left-winger is like the freak out over Graham Plattner really underlines this in my, it underlined in my head how unserious the left is online. Like the people's attitude toward Graham Plattner going, oh my God, he was an infantryman. Ew. Oh my God. Ew. Because they have so little encounter with people that are trained and capable of violence that the idea that somebody that was trained or capable of violence was agreeing with them was anathema to them because they're so outside the bubble of being aware what violence even is. They're so fucking coddled. They're so fucking surrounded by gauze that they can't even handle the idea of an infantryman on their side and how that's a good thing, by the way. I want you to understand something, chat. I'm going to go further than other people. It's a good thing that a former infantryman is on our side. Thank God. I hope we get 1,000 more Graham Plattners. I want 1,000 more veterans. Fuck. I hope all of SEAL Team 6 becomes a fucking AOC simp. That would be great. I hope all of them become far left radicals. I hope the guys who could kidnap Maduro is like, you know, we talked to Maduro and he's kind of based. That's what I want. That's my ideal world. Anybody who says they don't want veterans in their community sucks. Fuck them. Throughout the email, his tone was matter of... By the way, this doesn't include people that are from countries that were literally bombed. I completely understand why they feel that way, and that's totally legitimate. And I'm not trying to say the veterans are cool for being veterans. I just want to point that out, just so nobody takes me out of context. But I don't consider it to be some sort of like evil sin that's irredeemable. As long as their positions now are really good and they completely repent the idea of the military being a force of good in the world. It's not. America is an extremely violent country. And if your side has no people capable of violence on it, you're going to get fucking stomped. Thoughts of signing up for the military now? I think it's a really bad idea. I think it's a really bad idea to sign up for the military right now, especially if you're already politically aware. If you're already politically aware and you're signing up for the military now, I think it's probably a bad idea because they're doing a whole bunch of crimes, man. And you're going to what? You're going to be faced with the being pressured by force of law to commit crimes. I just did political violence on my toilet. Most active Bad Empanada fan. Most revolutionary Bad Empanada enjoyer. I apologize to my parents for saying I had an interview without specifying it was for Most Wanted, he wrote. He also apologized to colleagues and his students for telling him he had a personal emergency and said he expected that by the time anyone read the email, I would need emergency care, referring to potential injuries as self-inflicted status. Allen said he had planned to carry out the attack because he didn't want the crimes of the administration to coat his hands. He didn't refer to Trump or the event by name, but he said he intended to target administration officials prioritized from highest rank to lowest. Didn't he say pedophile rapist? I'm pretty sure he meant Trump. I wish you would have saw it would have Mike on. I'm pretty sure Mike's already been on. But not including Mr. Patel, he said, referencing the FBI director who's also at Saturday's dinner. Was he trolling in the manifesto? Or was he protecting him because...
Love the man with a plan when I'm on the run, when I'm on the run. All I gotta do is dial 911. We love the cops, our law enforcement. We love the military, they're important. We love the cops, our law enforcement.
He said he wouldn't target Secret Service, Capitol Police, or National Guard troops unless necessary. I hope they are wearing body armor, he wrote. Secret Service officer was shot while was wearing a bulletproof vest and was released from the hospital Sunday. In order to minimize casualties, I will be using buckshot rather than slug. Less penetration through walls.
We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our veterans, they're important. And when they're out at war, you know I appreciate them more, Thank you, Lord, when they keep us safe,
That's unbelievable. I mean, it's believable, but it's so funny. Allen's writing addressed a series of objections that his readers might have had with rebuttals for these. As a half-black, half-white person, you should be the one doing this. That's like actually unironically racist. It's unironically racist to be like, you should not be a black man leading the radical revolutionary moment. That'll make you unsafe. What the fuck are you talking about? As one of the most hypothetical objection to anyone carrying out the attack, rebuttal. I don't see anyone else picking up the slack. I mean, true. You think that since he was an engineer, he had made an IED or something? I mean, like, I feel like I can't talk about this because people are going to construe it as me, like, giving you a how-to to do an assassination. But it's just like, don't people study like assassinations in history? Like they assassinated the prime minister of the Spanish fascist dictatorship, right? And what they did is they knew he drove down a street, and so they made a huge bomb underneath the street. And then when he drove down that street, they put it in the sewer or whatever, and they detonated that shit under the paving stones. Luis Carrero Blanco, the prime minister of Spain, was assassinated when a cache of explosives in a tunnel set up by the Basque separatist group ETA was detonated. The assassination, known by the code name Operation Orgo, or Operation Ogre, is considered to have been the biggest attack against the Francoist state since the end of the Spanish Civil War in 1939, and had far-reaching consequences within the politics of Spain. Death of Carrero Blanco had numerous political implications. By the end of 1973, the physical health of dictator Francisco Franco had declined significantly, and it epitomized the final crisis of the Francoist regime. Following Carrero Blanco's death, the most conservative sector of the Francoist state, known as the Bunker, wanted to influence Franco so that he could choose an ultra-conservative as prime minister. Finally, he chose Carlos Arias Navarro, who originally announced a partial relaxation of the most rigid aspects of the Francoist state, but quickly retreated under pressure from the Bunker. ETA, on the other hand, consolidated its place as a relevant armed group and would evolve to become one of the main opponents of Francoism. So, like, this was an organized revolutionary group against a fascist dictatorship allied with the United States, by the way. Happily allied with the United States, by the way. Anti-democratic fascist state of Spain, firmly allied with the United States. The United States had no problem that a Western country was a fascist dictatorship. That was A-okay for America. They loved it, okay? So if you think like, oh, America is against totalitarianism and it believes in democracy, you're a fucking idiot. And you don't even know like basic history. In a collective interview justifying the attack, the ETA bombers said the execution in itself had an order and some clear objectives. Beginning of 1951, Carrero Blanco practically occupied the government headquarters in the regime. Carrero Blanco symbolized better than anyone else a figure of pure Francoism. Without totally linking himself to any of the Francoist tendencies, he covertly attempted to push Opus Dei into power. A man without scruples conscientiously mounted his own state within the state. He created a network of informers within the ministries, in the army, in the Falange, and also in Opus Dei. His police managed to put themselves into all Francoist apparatuses. Thus, he made himself the key element of the system and a fundamental piece of the oligarchy's political game. On the other hand, he came to be irreplaceable for his experience and capacity to maneuver, and because nobody managed, as he did, to maintain the internal equilibrium of Francoism. The Spanish opposition in exile did not condemn the killing, and in some cases, even welcomed it. The government meeting about the dangers of subversion threatening Spain was scheduled to take place on 20 December 1973. Both Carrero Blanco and the United States Secretary of State Henry Kissinger has expressed concern about a left-wing uprising during the meeting they held on 19 December. Wait a minute! Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, Hillary Clinton's friend? He was concerned about a left-wing uprising in Spain? Henry Kissinger, Hillary Clinton's friend? Man, this is like, this Wikipedia article sucks. It doesn't explain anything. An ETA commando unit using the codename Texaca, after nom de guerre of ETA activist. Okay, these names, man. I can't read these names. Killed by the Guardia Civil in April 1973, rented a basement flat at Calle Claudio Colo 104 Madrid on the route by which Carrero Blanco regularly went to mass. Over 5 months, the unit dug a tunnel under the street, telling the landlord that they were student sculptors to hide their true purpose. The tunnel was packed with 80 kilograms of Goma 2 that had been stolen from a government depot. On 20 December at 9:36 a.m., a three-man ETA commando unit disguised as electricians detonated the explosives by command wire. As Carrero Blanco's Dodge Dart passed, the blast sent Blanco and his car 20 meters into the air over the 5-story church, landing on the second-floor terrace of the opposite side. He actually survived the blast, but died at 10:15 a.m. in the hospital. His bodyguard and driver died shortly afterwards. The electricians shouted to stunned passersby that there had been a gas explosion and then fled in the confusion. ETA claimed responsibility on 22 January 1974. The first Spanish astronaut, yeah. Now, why am I explaining this? Well, I'm explaining this because assassinations, you know, you need to stop watching movies. You know, the idea that you're just going to walk up and just, you know, after retweeting Will Stancil one more time, and you're going to walk past the police who are all going to recognize that you're a righteous shooter, and you're gonna, manage to dome every single member of the cabinet, and you don't want to over penetrate or whatever the fuck else nonsense this guy was saying. It's like, what the fuck is this? This is childish. This is childlike. This is baby shit. You're saying you want to commit mega violence and decapitate the state, and you're worried that a small beans, Secret Service agent might get wounded? Like, what? You're a child. You're a fucking child. Brain dead. You're a 30-year-old man. What is this? How the fuck do you live? It's fucking bizarre. It's weird. It's like, how are you this much of a baby brain? What the fuck's going on? I'm going to overthrow the state while I salute the troops. Like, what is this? I think this explains it.
Liberal, 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 happy fun, la la la, human smuggling, fentanyl deaths, forced government euthanasia, chopping up children's genitals, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Like, they're so funny. God damn it. Why are people so fucking stupid, dude? I don't know how to handle this. Embarrassing, man. How are people this dumb? So embarrassing. So embarrassing. What did he think? Like, I want to hear him explain what he thought was going to happen. Legitimately, I can't believe this even happened because it's so stupid on its face. It's like, what does he think would happen? He's going to walk through the security lines and then he's going to walk up to Trump and shoot them and that's it? Like, what the fuck does he plan? Like, the big plan was Naruto run into the ballroom and start spraying. He went school shooter mode. I mean, legitimately, I don't even think this would work at an elementary school. It's that batch of a bad plan in 2026. Like, what does he try? Like, what was the plan? And then everyone, like, what are we even saying here? Pro is saluting the Secret Service as he ran by. If he didn't have a cuck-ass manifesto, I'd assume it was suicide. I mean, it's just like, you're sitting on a train. I'm going to go across the country to assassinate Trump. And the plan is Naruto run past the security guards? Like, what are we doing here? Like, you're a 30-year-old man. What is this? Like, I almost kind of feel bad that he's even going to get punished for this. He seems like such an innocent little flower. They don't have to put the... Like, I feel like this guy should be pardoned, to be honest with you. He's so not a threat to society. Like, I feel like he should be pardoned. I mean, obviously violence is bad. But he didn't even really commit violence as far as I can... Like, I feel like it was other cops that shot the Secret Service agent, right? Like, did he actually shoot his gun? Like, did he actually shoot his own gun? Has anybody described what actually happened? Did he? I feel like the cops shot themselves. All right, I gotta see, like, is there a video that describes what actually happened? Okay.
Hello, everybody. It is Sunday.
Okay, no, we're not watching Breaking Points. I'm sorry, we can't do that. Is there actually like a story of what happened? This has no motion, by the way. No one even cares about this shit. Nobody even cares about this assassination. They're already bored. I mean, I am.
The man accused of charging through security and opening fire at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is set to appear in court for his arraignment in the coming hours. 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen, a part-time teacher from California.
People care more about Megan Thee Stallion getting cheated on. By the way, Megan Thee Stallion getting cheated on by an NBA player. It's kind of funny. I actually find it comical. Again, incredibly, how do you put this? This is why our species is in bad shape. Actually embarrassing. Like, I know we could talk about fumbling and how great Megan Thee Stallion is, and everybody knows that. I don't even need to explain how amazing Megan Thee Stallion is. It's just, this is why our society is failing. Did the guy run shirtless? Did he run in shirtless? I haven't even seen the video.
He's facing federal firearm and assault charges. You see him here in this photo. We have learned that the suspect purchased two firearms.
I kind of did. I didn't like. I didn't even really look into the story that much. I'm guilty. I was like, I'll learn about it on Monday. It doesn't seem like a real thing, and it's definitely not one of ours. You know, I would be worried if I felt like it was a Hassan chatter or something. You know what I mean? Where I'd be like, oh, fuck, they're going to like put me in prison because some chatter was a dumb fuck. But this was so stupid and incompetent. I was like, there's no way it's one of our chatters. Our chatters would not be this incompetent. I shouldn't even joke. None of you commit violence. Please don't commit violence. I shouldn't even laugh because I find this so pathetically boring and not a real that I was like, there's no way it's any of ours. I think you guys would do so. Okay, I should joke. My chatters are way smarter than this guy.
Legally in recent years. You're looking at one of them, a shotgun, and just before the attack,
I renounce and reject all violence. These are just jokes.
he allegedly sent a note to family members expressing political anger and plans to target members of the administration. Well, he wrote in that note, quote, "I don't expect forgiveness."
We did obtain this so-called manifesto. That is what agents and administration officials are referring to, these writings from the suspect. We are told that he sent this manifesto to his family members roughly 10 minutes before the incident occurred. But these officials also told...
Oh my God, dude. Guy looks like a chorus creator. He looks like a guy who would be posting TikToks about how I'm anti-Semitic.
Told me that the family members did not see this until after the incident, and that's when they reported it to local authorities. One thing is clear, though, in these writings, this suspect did set out to harm cabinet officials in Trump's cabinet. In fact, this line in particular, it says, administration officials, they are targets prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. And then he goes into saying that he's not going to be targeting law enforcement. Of course, we know he did end up exchanging fire with one of those agents who, of course, thankfully was wearing protective gear and is expected to be all right.
So joining me now is CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe. So, Andy, to start, can you talk about the value of a manifesto? I have to admit, when there are mass shootings, we tend not to quote from them. What's going to be significant in this?
Yeah, Audie, so the primary thing that investigators are looking for right off the bat is to make sure that there's no evidence of additional plotting. Are there other people connected to this person who might be like-minded, who are thinking about doing the same thing, or who may have helped him execute his plan? And so the manifesto can be enormously helpful with that. Once you've resolved that question in your mind, you're fairly confident that there's no one else involved here, there's still a real a high priority on mining as much intelligence as you possibly can about why this person did what they did. And let's be clear, investigators are collecting evidence to be able to help prove the prosecution. That's going on in one channel, but alongside that is a broader scope of intelligence that you're looking for to answer that why question. And the reason is, the more we learn about why people resort to political violence or arm themselves with weapons and go into events like this, the better we can get at spotting threats and mitigating these sort of threats before they happen. So it's a constant thing that law enforcement is always.
Yeah, it's like we gotta start surveilling Blue Sky, all the Blue Sky liberals who hate Trump. We have to systemically oppress them. That's what they're arguing for. Trump got so sad he called him a pedophile rapist.
Manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, "Administration officials, they are targets." And he also wrote this: "I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes." What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President, these are the gunman's words.
I mean, he got the ultimate Blue Sky victory, which is he got Trump to read his tweets. He got Trump to read his tweets calling him a pedophile, which in a certain sense, that's a victory for a Blue Sky liberal.
Excuse me.
Trump is super triggered.
You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace. But go ahead. Let's finish the interview.
The other thing.
He's so mad. They're so mad. He's so salty.
That he wrote in the other thing in the manifesto that I think is worth looking at in terms of determining his motive is he had been staying at the hotel since Friday. He checked in. He said he had cased the place, and he wrote, What the hell is the Secret Service doing? And he wrote this quote, I expected security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors out the wazoo. What I got is nothing. He wrote, like, this level of incompetence is insane. Sir, you have already had 2 attempted...
Well, he was pretty incompetent, too, because he got caught. And he got caught pretty easily. So I'd say he was pretty incompetent, too. You know, I could take any event having to do with security or anything else. I can always find fault. Those guys did a good job last night. They did a really good job.
I mention that because, again, as his motive, and you brought this up, he had social media accounts that had anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric.
You should read. Why don't you read all the anti-Trump? Why don't you read it? You just did, so why don't you read it?
Well, he had a lot of anti-Christian rhetoric. He was part of a group called the Wide Awakes. He had attended a No Kings protest in California.
No Kings.
He's a no king shooter. The gunman who attempted to destroy the White House correspondence dinner wrote a letter explaining his actions, accusing administration officials broadly of serious crimes. When Norah O'Donnell read the list of crimes of President Trump, he was offended.
The so-called...
And sadly, something that's not so unusual, he actually sent his messages to
I don't know why, chat, am I wrong for just laughing at this right off the bat? I mean, that's how I felt. I shouldn't even say it. Like when the Charlie Kirk shooter happened, everybody was like, oh, it's a leftist. Oh, it's leftist. And I launched the largest disinformation campaign of my career, and it was completely successful. I started the argument that it was a groyper. That was my best disinformation campaign of my entire career. Now, I normally don't do disinformation, but I had to stop the fucking narrative that it was some sort of lefty, and I flipped that shit on its head so fast, it was amazing. Now, I didn't really know. I was going off some now, I'm not saying it was completely, it wasn't lies, but I was using the exact same level of information people had to argue it was a leftist shooter, right? I justifiably made a counter argument that it could have been a groyper. Now, obviously, as more information came out, it seems very clear that it wasn't a groyper and it wasn't a leftist. Very unsatisfying. He was a centrist shooter. Just like this guy. All we've had are centrist shooters, except for the one guy who shot up those the Israeli embassy staffers. That was a leftist shooter. But most of these shooters have been centrist shooters. Mike, is this as bad as Charlie Kirk? Honestly, I don't think people are that excited about it. I mean, look at my viewership right now. It's not even good. Like, I don't think people are like, oh my God, I have to find out more about the Trump shit. Nobody gives a shit. Like, literally no one gives a shit. Now, if Trump got shot or something, people would care. But literally no one cares. As soon as people found out it's not a leftist and no one got shot, people were like, yawn, and they went away. 90% of people think it's fake. The media loves it because they all feel important, but no one really gives a shit. Like, I honestly want to talk more about the fucking Iran war because that's real shit. That's being distracted from. Like, why is the S&P 500 not going down? There is no peace talks. Oil prices are surging again. Like, why? Like, what's happening up? U.S. would reopen a Hormuz Strait, postpone nuclear talks if U.S. lifts blockade and war ends. Reports. This is just every Monday we go through this. Oh yeah, we're just about to open the blockade. Every fucking Monday we go through this. Every fucking Monday. Iran offered to reopen the Strait of Hormuz if the U.S. lifts its blockade and the war ends, while setting aside nuclear negotiations for later. So in other words, status quo ante. White peace. That's what we're asking for. Everybody just go back to what happened before. The shooter had a Twitch account, but it was suspended. Yeah, I know. I checked it. I checked the chatter, and he wasn't following me, and he had no messages. Feels bad, man. That's the one thing I checked yesterday, was if the shooter was one of my chatters or ever chatted in here. And the answer is no. However, Twitch chat logs. Who did he chat in? Who did he chat in? Oh, man, you can't look him up anymore because he got banned. I was going to check Hutch. Hutch is not important enough of a channel to be tracked. God damn. He's not big enough of a channel to be tracked. They banned his account. I don't like the fact that they do that. I feel like we should be able to see what the person said on social media. Like, it's bullshit that everybody's shit gets deleted before we should see who they're following, what they said. Like, what is this hiding the fucking, like, facts? All right, where were we? Nobody gives a shit about this crap anymore. This has so little motion.
Brother to family members, they actually contacted the police department. I think
they wouldn't do that. Oh God, if he was a HASANABI head, I would be arrested right now. If they were a HASANABI head, they would be like kicking down our doors right now and arresting me. They'd be arresting me. They'd be arresting Hassan. I'd be permit from Twitch instantly. They would blame us for all the shit. It would be 24/7. Hassan Piker forces fan to kill Trump. Attempt to kill Trump. It would be on every network. It would be blasted everywhere. Everybody who ever worked with us would be facing like, one of your followers killed the president. Like that's exactly, like that's what it would be going 24/7. But because he was a Dylan Burns fan and a Olivia Juliana fan and a Sarah Longwell fan and a Bulwark guy, it's all covered up.
In New London, Connecticut, to talk about their concern. Can you talk about what that means? Like, is the family going to be part of this investigation now? And how can families be helpful in these incidents?
There's no question that they will approach each one of these family members, those who receive the manifestos and possibly others, and to request that they sit down and subject themselves to interviews. Not anything that could result in them getting in trouble. That's not the focus here. But you want to really know about that communication, about how it was received, and really about the relationship preceding that communication. How did we get to this point? The family members can be of enormous significance to an investigation. Probably the most famous example of that is, of course, the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, who wrote that monstrous manifesto that he sent to the New York Times and the Washington Post, and which was ultimately identified by his brother, his family member, who was able to kind of unravel the mystery of who the Unabomber was for us. That's obviously not the situation here, but nevertheless, getting to that, answering that question of why, those family members could be really helpful in that.
Before I let you go, can you tell us what the next steps are? Does he appear in court? Like, what happens?
Yeah, so he'll appear in court today. He'll be arraigned or officially charged in public with the offenses. We should hear some additional details from the prosecutors about what's been uncovered in the investigation so far. I'm quite confident he'll be detained. He'll be held in jail pending the remainder of the investigation and his prosecution. And ultimately, if he decides to contest these charges, he'll go to trial. That wouldn't happen for quite some time. Although I should also add, I expect these charges to be added to with additional charges as the investigation continues.
Authorities have the writings from the suspect. From a national security standpoint, and for projecting forward rather than looking backward, what do you do with those writings now?
So it gives us obviously a sense of motive. He was getting more interested in left-wing causes, began to hate Donald Trump and the administration. I think for purposes of radicalization and political violence, what we want to know, or what's scary about this, is the sort of what we call the short runway of radicalization, which is essentially, these things are happening so fast now. His family says he's not really engaged. He doesn't have a criminal record. And then, very quickly, he becomes the person who tries to assassinate the president. That's a challenge for law enforcement, and it means families, as we might have seen this family do, must take it very seriously and try to intervene.
What do you make of the man's writings that he sent to family just before the attack?
Well, look, you and I have covered so many acts of violence where there is often a lingering question about what was a motive. And sometimes that's laborious work for law enforcement to try to dig into that. You take, for example, the attempted assassination against President Trump last year in Pennsylvania. To this day, there are still major questions about the motive, very mysterious. This is not that, Kate. I mean, everything that we're learning about this person from his own purported writings, he essentially lays out what the motive is. That's his deep animus for the president, for members of the Trump administration. He goes in this long kind of delusional ranting manifesto, which I won't get into to amplify, but he basically has a target list. And he goes so far as to think, okay, people are going to criticize me for doing certain things. Here's my rebuttal to each of those points. And this is what FBI profilers typically call the typical grievance collector, someone who appears that they're so motivated by grievances that they then decide to act on violence. That manifesto will certainly be critical evidence in his prosecution.
Joining us now, CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. Ellie, look, we've got this arraignment today. This is a procedure that every suspect goes through if they have been jailed and are facing potential trial. What do we expect today?
So first of all, we're not going to actually see anything, you and me and the media and the public, because this is federal court. No cameras in the courtroom, not even a live audio feed, but we will have our reporters there so people will know what's going on. This defendant will be advised of the charges against him. He will enter a plea, a not guilty plea. plea, I'm sure. The judge will make sure he has a lawyer. If he has one he's paying, that's fine. If not, the court will appoint one for him. The judge will consider the issue of bail, which he will not get. He's going to be detained pending trial or pending the outcome of the case. And then the judge will turn potentially to scheduling issues. How quickly is this going to move? When does the government have to turn over its evidence, what we call discovery? How long do the parties have for motions? And maybe set a trial date. Usually you won't see a trial date set in an initial appearance like today, but it'll give us some sense of how fast a pace this case is on.
All right. Look, police are talking about these writings that they've found that they've linked to the suspect. And in one of them, they say he wrote, "Let me start off by apologizing to everyone whose trust I abused." It does sound very much like a mea culpa. So I guess the question is, if he wanted to get a plea deal, if he decides, you know what, I don't need to go through this whole trial, I was a person that was responsible for this, there's video of me, there's pictures of me. If he wanted a plea deal, do you think one would be offered him?
You know, the vast majority of federal cases, over 95%, do end up in guilty pleas as opposed to trial. That said, in this case, if I'm going back into the prosecutor's seat here, I'm not giving this guy any offer whatsoever. I do not expect this Justice Department or this U.S. Attorney in D.C., rightly, I do not expect them to give him any offer of leniency. The offer will be you can just plead and get a life sentence. Now, he may make a strategic decision. Well, let me plead guilty and sort of throw myself at the mercy of the judge. The fact that I've accepted responsibility, if he does, may give the judge some reason to sentence somewhat lower. So you could see what we would call what I would consider a one-sided plea, where the defendant goes in, prosecutor doesn't have an agreement, but the defendant just says, "Judge, I'm guilty. I'm at your will."
All right, we'll have to see what happens during this arraignment. Look, the writings also show that this was politically based. And if those writings are indeed his, when you look at that, could there be any additional charges in this case?
The writings are crucial evidence. First of all, it confirms beyond any question it is him. It confirms that he planned this, that this was intentional. And it could well support additional charges. He's currently charged with using a firearm in the course of a crime of violence and with assault on a federal official. If you're a prosecutor and you want to add an attempted assassination charge, and the writings say, this is my goal, I'm trying to kill the president, the vice president, others, that would be the basis for an attempted assassination charge. And I do expect prosecutors will add charges, maybe as soon as today, maybe within the coming days. And given what we know about the writings, I do expect there to be attempted assassination charges added to this case.
Yeah,
Dana Fash was trying to pin this against Jamie Raskin. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, ultimately, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know
Ken,
what to
let's
say.
start at the courthouse with you.
It's
What
just
can
so
we?
It's so funny. It's just like I can't even treat this seriously. It's just liberal, incompetent, stupid, childlike brain, doesn't understand how the world works, has no connection to material reality, thinks that Donald Trump is the cause of all the problems, right? Has no actual solution, didn't even really think through what his like actions are going to result in, right? Like, this is like dealing with a Democrat. Like, they have not even thought through their own actions. It's like a baby. It's like a baby. So I just find it funny. What do you want me to say? I'm going to be nice to the Secret Service, but they're going to let me blast the entire cabinet and the president. I'm going to make sure I have buckshot to make sure that no one innocent is harmed. But I'm going to do a mass shooting terrorist assassination attempt. Like, what is it? What even goes on in the brain of such a child? And it's like he's bought in all the bullshit about America being the good guys. America bombed 200 little girls. Our military triple tapped in elementary school. Bombed the elementary school, then bombed the ambulances that rushed to help the children, and then bombed the parents that went to dig their own children out of the rubble. That's what our military just did. It killed 200 little girls. Israel has just exterminated 100,000 Palestinians minimum and demolished the entire Gaza Strip. The United States endorsed an Al-Qaeda affiliate taking over Syria. Like, what are we, like, we are killing children left and right directly through our military. And he's like saluting the troops and thinks they're the good guys or something. And that only Trump makes America bad. It's only Trump. And if he just killed Trump, it would make America magically good again. And the only way you can think that is if you have a child's brain or you're a liberal. And the sense of you only watch liberal news and you close yourself off to reality. And that results in an assassination attempt like this, which is childlike. It is. It sounds like something a 12-year-old would do. Like, everybody is 12. He played it like he was playing GoldenEye and he was doing a speed run through the dam level. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it is baby shit. It's embarrassing that I even have to pretend that it's serious. This was not serious because his political thought is so inane and he's such a child that this didn't represent a threat to literally anyone. And I'm tired of pretending like it did.
Expect from today's arraignment, and what more are we learning about this suspect?
Good morning, Anna. We're expecting an early afternoon arraignment, and an arraignment is a pro forma first appearance. The charges will be read. Remember, he's charged with 2 crimes at the moment, use of a firearm in a crime of violence and attacking federal officials, but more charges could be in the offing. And the charges will be read, and he'll have a chance to enter a plea, and then there'll be a discussion of conditions of detention. No one expects him to be released, obviously. In terms of what we're learning about the suspect and about what happened, the things that Kash Patel described, they're going to reveal at this hearing, a lot of which we already know. For example, the suspect, 31-year-old Cole Allen from Torrance, California, well-educated, a degree in engineering from Caltech, master's degree in computer science, was working as a teacher, even won an award as a teacher, living by all accounts a normal life, but somehow became radicalized. And we know that he purchased weapons, the authorities have said legally, a shotgun and a handgun. He also had knives with him. He took the train across country, stopping in Chicago. And that's important because he didn't have to bring weapons past airport security, for example. There's no screening getting on an Amtrak train. And he checked into the hotel, knowing that that would better afford him access, even though there wasn't a security perimeter outside the hotel doors. Members of the public could walk in. There are Secret Service agents around watching for people, but he knew that he could keep away from that kind of screening by checking into the hotel. And what we're learning is that he took the stairs down before he mounted his attack to the floor above the ballroom, and then charged 60 feet sprinting at the security checkpoint where there were metal detectors and magnetometers. He got past the first line of officers, who immediately started opening fire, and those were the gunshots that we heard. He may have gotten off a shot. It's unclear at this moment. And then they tackled him and detained him well short of the ballroom. So President Trump was never in any danger. But after that, lengthy period of chaos as the tactical team came in and Secret Service agents with guns began trying to evacuate the president, the vice president, and all the VIPs. And so then we learned that he sent this missive out, this 1,000-word explanation of why he did what he did, saying he was targeting Trump administration officials. He called the president a pedophile and a rapist. So clearly he had gone far down a path of radicalization and felt like political violence was the answer. We may learn more about his motivations today at this hearing.
Laura, President Trump has had a lot to say about this. Fill us in.
That's right, Anna. So there were 2 things that stood out in the aftermath that the president has focused on. One of those is that he was asked directly whether or not he thought there was anything that could be done about the rise in political violence, or if this was simply the cost of doing politics. And he said yes, that he thought that it was the cost of doing politics. And he repeated this again the next day, normalizing the level of political violence across the country when he sat down with 60 Minutes. Take a listen.
You go back 20 years, 40 years, 100 years, 200 years, 500 years. It's always been there. People are assassinated. People are injured. People are hurt. And I'm not sure that there's any more now than there was.
Now, the American public doesn't necessarily agree with the president. A Pew poll late last year found that 85% of Americans think that there is a rise in political violence. And national security experts, former FBI, former Secret Service have also said there is a rise. And I spoke to multiple former FBI and Secret Service agents, and they said that this is something that the president's response, which is to say that the only solution here is for his ballroom to be able to be built, for that 90,000 square foot ballroom that has a military complex underneath. He has said that that is the thing that will fix all of this, and nothing else really needs to change. And those former agents told me that doesn't really make sense. It's not necessarily logical because of the fact that there will be vulnerabilities anywhere the president goes, including at the White House, and that one of the solutions is not to sit behind the castle walls. And the former Secret Service agents that I spoke to said, does this mean the president is going to have all events at the White House? And I asked the White House how the administration could ultimately deem any future event outside of the White House safe enough for the president, and they didn't respond to that answer, Anna.
Yeah, and this wasn't a White House event. This was a journalism event, and the president was invited to it as a part of the celebration of the First Amendment. Paul, there's the video we've been seeing. There are these alleged writings from the suspect. What are investigators doing right now to build their case?
So they're combing over all of Mr. Allen's social media. Reportedly, he has hundreds of posts on Blue Sky. So they're looking for a motive. They're trying to understand why he did this. Based on the manifesto, it seems like it's politically motivated violence. One question is against who specifically? The two charges he faces now both have to do with his shooting of the Secret Service officer, alleged shooting of the Secret Service officer. But prosecutors will.
But is there any evidence he actually pulled the trigger? Is there any evidence he actually pulled the trigger? I thought it was like, did he actually shoot the officer, or did another officer shoot the officer?
Something that a charge that they feel more accurately reflects the gravity of what they believe Mr. Allen did. So they're probably looking at attempted assassination. And then, Anna, the question is against whom? So his alleged manifesto doesn't specifically mention the president, although the acting attorney general said this weekend that he thought attempted assassination of a president, there could be evidence of that. I think more likely there's another crime called attempted assassination of a federal official that includes cabinet officials. That crime carries a sentence of life imprisonment.
Tom, this was different than the two attempts on the president's life before because he was not the only apparent target here. And you have helped secure everything from congressional baseball games to the State of the Union. Was this a security failure, a success story, or a bit of both?
It's a bit of both. In terms of the protection aspect of this, it was a success. They successfully protected the president. In fact, there were protection agents for over a dozen people that were in that room. In my view, this individual was attacking this event as much as any individual. In his manifesto, he talks about going after as many as he can get. And so I don't know if he was going to start shooting indiscriminately, if he was actually going to try and target folks. But this, in fact, was different than the other attempts. This was certainly a failure in that the checkpoint officers should have been aware and been looking around and seen him begin. I mean, they did have some line of sight to see this individual start running. And as soon as that happened, they should have been on top of that and been able to stop him there. But every security plan has rings, has layers of security, and he got caught at the next ring, so to speak. As they plan these, make these security plans, they try and make sure that there's no single point of failure that's going to end up in a catastrophic consequence. And in this case, you had a failure at that checkpoint, but it was mitigated by the next ring, who was able to take him into custody.
The suspect was able to rush the security checkpoint, though, which was close to the event itself. He had guns, he had knives. How could somebody get this close? We saw this in Butler, too, where the security perimeter wasn't sufficient.
Yes, and that wasn't sufficient in this case either. One of the things that they should, especially after the event started, in fact, hours before the event would start, they should have had someone posted at every stairwell, every staircase, every elevator. They should have restricted anybody coming.
We got like 5 feet? So you got like 5 feet, tried to Naruto run past, it got tripped immediately? He wave dash to the ballroom.
That level, unless they had an invitation and had been screened, and so that was I think a flaw in the security plan, in that they didn't have every avenue to get to that floor posted so that folks could not just go unimpeded to get to that floor. Now, this individual started, a floor away and was going to try and run to get there, but they should have made sure that and should have had folks posted on every single stairwell, and staircase and elevator.
Paul, the president immediately called this suspect crazy, sick, very disturbed, a nut, a bad person. Could any of that end up helping the suspect's defense?
I don't think so, because the question at trial would be what his motive was and what his actions were. And based on what we know about the evidence now, it seems clear that his intent was to cause harm to people at the dinner, and specifically members
So
of
basically the guy had a gun and he tried to Naruto run and he got tackled, and that's that. Boring!
Of the president's cabinet. And so the concern would be that the president's remarks might prejudice a jury, but judges usually don't use that as a reason to prevent a trial from going on or to restrict the charges against a person. So again, not the best in terms of what a prosecutor would like. You don't like people commenting on the case who have evidence about it, including the president, before the trial, but it's unlikely to have a major impact on what happens to Mr. Allen in the criminal legal system.
Ken, conspiracy theories, which we should note are baseless at this point, instantly flooded social media on Saturday night, and the New York Times described it as an almost instant online free-for-all over the truth, which plays out in just seconds and minutes after an attack and continues for days and weeks, even as the truth often remains elusive. How is this incident feeding this microcosm on the internet?
Yeah, and this is the loop that's feeding the kind of thing that leads to these sorts of incidents. We're in an environment where conspiracy theories have run amok in this society, and an increasingly large segment of the public doesn't know what the truth is. And it's on both extremes of the political spectrum, and it's young people, and it's a big problem. And arguably, it's contributing to this level of political violence that we haven't seen really since the 1960s. And nobody's really sure how to get a handle on it. But it's incumbent on all of us, particularly in the media, to just try to keep telling the truth and get the correct facts out there, because obviously this was not staged. Neither was the assassination at Butler, no matter how many times people want to try to say that it was. It's just, experts are grappling with this problem of social media and AI and what's real on the internet as our society is increasingly polarized. It's a huge issue on it.
All in all, I don't even think this guy should go to prison, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe for like a year or two, but like not for life or anything. Not for life or anything. He's just kind of a cringe nerd, Put him in, arrest him, Okay, you illegally brought a gun. You posted threats, trespassing, maybe, some sort of, but come on, community service. Have this guy go around and clean up litter for a few weeks. And take away his phone. This guy isn't a serious, assassin. Come on. Minimum security prison. Put him in the cell across from Ghislaine Maxwell. This guy is not a serious criminal. Come on.
And we'll begin with the suspect who attempted to storm the White House Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend. He is now expected to be arraigned in federal court this morning. Authorities say the man, whose name is Cole Allen, could face federal firearm and assault charges. The Department of Justice may also file more charges ahead of the hearing. FBI agents searched Allen's home in Torrance, California, just hours after the attack. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche says the suspect was apparently targeting administration officials, likely including President Trump. As MS Now.
Okay, I before we go on, I have to point this shit. Okay, I've had it. I've clavicular, the Carvanacle or whatever his fucking name is. He's officially become annoying. I think younger people who haven't watched leftist YouTube for long would be shocked at how liberal Zionist it was back in 2021, 2022. Or maybe you wouldn't, LOL. The only actual anti-Israel YouTuber streamers I remember from 2021 are myself, Hassan, Bad Empanada, and sadly, the Lolicon Connoisseur. I'm sorry, but this is what I posted on October 7th. Come on, man. Get the fuck out of here. The only anti-Zion. Give me a fucking break. Oh, shit. I was going to show you how long I've been talking about Gaza, but then I searched Gaza, and it's fuck. I've been posting so much about Gaza for so long that I'm never gonna find it. This is all just 2025 shit. Maybe a genocide? I'm typoed. I misspelled genocide. Genocide. Side. There you go. Jesus Christ. I can't type. Okay, that was the other time I misspelled genocide. I want to say I've been calling it a genocide since like 2019. Like, one of the first things I said. David Pakman, Brian Tyler Cohen, and Aaron Partis are genocide deniers. They simply do not cover it because AIPAC donors don't want them to. Pure corruption. Almost all Americans under the age of 40 are completely opposed to the crime going on in Gaza. Man, that was in August of 2025, dude. All right, let's do an advanced search. I'm pretty sure I've been covering it. Oh, yeah, here we go. Israel breaks ceasefire, bombs Gaza. Debunking the human shield myth in Gaza. That was just... Gaza families return home to rubble. 2021, 2021, 2021. The only anti-Zionist. Almost like that's not true. And in fact, it's actually active bullshit because I talked about it more than almost anyone else. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to, be proved as the bestest, the bestest anti-Zionist Mike from Pierre or whatever. And it's just like, I did not radicalize. I was already an anti-Zionist prior to October 7th. Israeli apologists will harp on how this is about Hamas terrorism in Gaza, but fail to mention that the evictions and settlement construction is in the West Bank where Hamas isn't in power. It's almost like apartheid and ethnic cleansing has nothing to do with terrorism. May 12th, 2021. It's almost like I've been saying this years and years and years before anyone else. Damn. Disgusting. No mention of the Israeli attacks on the Associated Press and BBC offices in Gaza. So much for the only democracy in the Middle East. It's almost like that's not true. It's almost like that's not true. In fact, I said it before October 7th. I mean, not all of them were anti-Zionist until after October 7th, but I don't think the evolution is cynical, and I was more talking about the majority of creators who don't seem genuine. Yeah. No. Actually, the Lolicon connoisseur did get permabanned for saying nuke Israel, which is pretty funny from Twitch. So I do want to give him credit for that. I mean, it's just like, it's such bullshit. Like, it actually pisses me off how liberals, how these fucking like people continue to spread misinformation about myself or Hassan or whatever, because they have absolutely no clout. What is this? A tart? A taro tart? Ube tart? Ube tart. Thank you, Via. Where'd you get this? Looks good. I remember him raising like 300K after the whole Sheikh Jarrah situation where credit is due. I think I mean, Vosh was anti-Israel, which is surprising. It is surprising that he was anti-Israel, but it is true that he was. Fox and Friends were talking about Hassan this morning. Link.
Now, you have Abdul al-Sayed, on the other hand, who doesn't have any red flags and has an identical message, Graham Plattner. So at that point, if Graham Plattner is doing so well, but Abdul al-Sayed not so well, you have to make a different assessment. Maybe Graham Plattner being white is what is causing people to overlook some of these red flags. MS now had Abdul and Plattner.
Sanders kingmaker. The senators helping progressive candidates pull ahead in Senate races, and it's making some Democratic leaders nervous. In Michigan,
who's the Lolicon streamer? We're referring to Vosh in that case.
Sanders' latest preferred candidate is...
I don't like that they use old photos of Abdul back when he was a little bit...
We've got a live one, Cheeks Lover 84. I feel like is that an Asmongold guy? Although, to give them credit, I do think you could consider this guy center left. I think you have to give him credit for being center left, at least in the American context. No, he's a centrist radical. Never mind. He's not left wing. As much as I want to say it's left wing violence, it doesn't even count. Who's Vosh? Doesn't matter.
Chunkier, because like he's slimmed down.
I still can't believe I listened to Vosh for years. I mean, listen, I'm not. The YouTube algorithm likes him for a variety of reasons. Let's just say the CIA likes pedophiles, okay? The CIA likes pedophiles because they're compromised, all right? So, just something to keep in mind.
He's keeping it tight. Put some new photos up there.
Abdul el-Sayed is gaining momentum in a three-way Democratic primary.
Not his best suit, but
using a very clear platform: Medicare for all, abolishing ICE, and ending U.S. military aid to Israel. And in Maine, Sanders endorsed Graham Plattner is leading the Democratic field handedly, despite a string of negative revelations. In an interview with NBC News, Plattner said he'd push Democrats to pursue an aggressive agenda, one that includes replacing Chuck Schumer organizing an anti-war movement and removing 2 conservative Supreme Court justices. Joining us, former Florida Congressman Val Demings and Peter Hamby, who's back with us. So, Peter, is this a sea change?
Oh, Peter's on the line, baby. Let's hear from Peter.
I don't think so. I mean, we've both covered elections for going on 8 years now, where Bernie Sanders, 10 years, where Bernie Sanders has been a factor, where he's been on the ballot. I think the candidates you mentioned, Abdul El-Sayed and Graham Plattner, will certainly do well in their primaries. Plattner's is in June, El-Sayed's in August. Among younger voters, especially in Michigan, where there are a lot of Arab and Muslim people and young people on campuses who are furious about Gaza still and that issue, and they're making their campaign about AIPAC and stopping AIPAC money, et cetera. So at the same time, Bernie Sanders has a mixed record endorsing candidates. He also endorsed Peggy Flanagan in the Senate primary in Michigan. He can bring a lot of energy to the table, but he's also been on the ballot in many of these states. He was on the ballot in Michigan himself in 2020 against Joe Biden and lost.
Peter can't give you credit. It's hilarious. I don't think he should bring my name up at all in this.
Okay, first of all, the race was already over by that point. It was over after Super Tuesday. Everybody knew that Biden was going to be the nominee after Super Tuesday. There was still a small chance that Bernie could come back, but at that point, it was pretty clear that after Super Tuesday, Biden was winning. So that Michigan race doesn't even matter. It's over at that point. Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton in the largest upset in polling history in 2016 in Michigan.
A lot to Biden, in part because he has yet to crack the code with black voters.
Iran is being right now. Ben Rhodes, opinion, Graham Plattner went to hell and back is a simple message for Democrats. This is where American exceptionalism. Oh, yeah. I heard Graham Plattner's recent statements about like American war machine, and it was really good. I know a lot of people hate him and all this shit, but every day he comes out with
It's cringe to hate hating Graham Plattner unless like people go like, oh, he's a mass murderer or he did this. And it's like they don't actually have any evidence. They have him Reddit posting cringe 15 years ago being like, yeah, I was in combat, but they don't actually have any evidence he did anything or killed even a single person, right? Like they have his cringe posting of like, I was in combat, I did 4 tours or whatever. And it's like, obviously I don't think celebrating that shit is good. And that's not been his campaign. His campaign hasn't been like, I know how to be in combat, send me to the Senate and I'll keep America safe through my strength. That's not his campaign. It's just trying to get people to, basically young kids to signal that they are like lefter than thou because they disapprove of the veteran. It's lifestyleism shit. It's not a serious political movement. And I'm sorry, if you want to change American policy, we need a serious political movement. And I'm just going to keep telling you to be serious, man. This place is not the ultra spot. I want to win power. I want to hold back money from Israel. I want to watch Israel crumble because it no longer has money from America. Graham Plattner is somebody saying to do that. Graham Plattner is somebody who's connected with the anti-war movement, is connected with the anti-Israel movement. He's going to respond to pressure from us. I want somebody like that in. I don't care if he's cringe. I don't care if he has a checkered background. As long as what he's doing now and how he gets into power now is by fighting the Zionists in power. And Janet Mills is a Zionist who would have voted against the members of her own party with people like John Fetterman to support Israel. I'm sorry, I don't fuck around with that shit. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. They're mad he worked at Blackwater. Blackwater was literally, it's the same shit as being a veteran. It's the same shit. That was created by Obama to be a State Department bodyguard. It's the same exact shit. That's Barack. You want to be mad at anyone? Be mad at Barack fucking Obama. Barack Obama is who's created the private contractors for bodyguard State Department program. Now, I personally think that should exist and that all of the bodyguards of the State Department should work for the government as government employees. But that's the program. And it's like they hired former veterans to serve as bodyguards for the State Department, like officials, diplomats. That's what he did. So, it's just like, come on.
More impressive statement. He basically said there's nothing exceptional about what we do overseas, and what we should be doing, what the difficult thing to do is actually not to, another brown country, but instead a president that can.
That's the point. Is it's like when you have somebody like Graham Plattner, who's a veteran, who was a machine gunner, who was a bodyguard for the State Department, and he comes out there and he says, The wars are bad and pointless, and we need to bring the troops home. He can't be called a fucking pussy, soft, soft-handed liberal pussy. Like, they can't say that about him because he's been there, so he knows how wrong it is. So when he says it's wrong, he has more credibility than people that never were involved. Now, you may not agree with that because you're a left-winger, but you're in a fucking bubble. You're in a fucking bubble. And I agree with that bubble. I want that bubble to be bigger. I'm glad that people like you can exist now. I'm glad that we have made so much progress that people like you have a social group that you could posture to. I'm glad that leftist grifters exist. That's a sign of us winning. I'm glad that there are people like Bada Panada who can live in Argentina and be Australian citizens and talk about American politics every day. And there's so many people out there that are buying that shit that he can live off of it. It's fucking great that he's a left-wing grifter. I'm glad. It's a sign that we're doing well. But you guys have to be smarter than that, right? You have to understand that that's a LARP. You have to understand that that's a grift. That's not a real political movement. And I'm sorry, a political movement in America that goes out there and says veterans are evil is not real. That's not going to work. That's just an embarrassment. That's a fucking embarrassment. Now, you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to have that opinion, but expecting a politician to run out there and say, oh, I want you guys to know how much I hate veterans, and then pretend like that's a serious political position somebody could hold. That's a joke. It's a fucking joke. If you want to have a group of people that you have a little co-op for, if you want 20 people that you're standing around smelling of patchouli oil and fucking brickweed, that's fine. That's not a real political movement in the world. Bagger take on leftist grifters being a good sign. I mean, it's a good sign, but we don't have to promote them and support them. It's just a good sign that people, like, our movement is so popular that people could actually get, make money off of being a grifter. That's great. That's great. That's part of creating a cultural milieu of leftism. I like the fact that people are yelling at me for being a reactionary. I've wanted this. I want this. I want people going like, I'm so left-wing that Mike from PA is a reactionary. That's what I want. I want that. I want you guys to be so fucking popular that you're arresting me at 2050, going in 2050, arresting Mike for supporting imperialist capitalist running dog, Graham Plattner and Zagran Mamdani. I want that world. I've said this before. I want to live in a world where I am executed for being a reactionary. That is my goal. I'm glad that you're here, but be serious right now. Be fucking serious. Be fucking for real right now. I'm going to be a revolutionary without any infantrymen. That's funny. That's fucking funny. You got to admit that's funny. I'm not a lib like you. I'm a revolutionary without any infantry training. I'm going to be a revolutionary without understanding how to be an infantry soldier. Like, come on. It's fucking funny.
Be restrained. U.S. ground missiles launched from Kuwait targeting Tehran, the capital of Iran. I don't know who Aiden reports is. I don't know how legit this is. Yeah, he said, we are so broken emotionally when it comes to our politics that we've literally created this story and that it's inherent in being a competent political leader to civilians, Mr. Platter told me. If you're not willing to do some hard things and drop some, then you're not up to the task of power. I think it's the opposite. You're not up to the task of being in power if you do not think about the cost of violence. If that's not at the front of your mind, then I don't think you're morally in the right place to be in positions of power. We like to frame our wars as virtuous, but they're not. Instead, they resemble a declining empire sowing chaos along its periphery as a matter of strategy. Economic Americans who fight suffer along with the places they attack. The only way we change that is by talking about it publicly, Mr. Plattner told me. If we start to revisit the morality of military conflict and how we use violence, that's going to have a direct correlation to what is good for America. I'm sorry. You will never convince me that that is not the most. I mean, that's like, if you like it when I say it verbatim, because this is what I say verbatim, but you hate it when he says it, at a certain point, you have to realize, like, there is no reason for him to be insincere about this. Yeah, says the dude that chose to go civilians multiple times. The USA sucks. I know. Like, which message do you think will resonate more with the voters? I mean, this is still, at the end of the day, somewhat of a brave stance to take, even though it's the true stance to take, right? It's just the truth. That's all he's saying. First time one of my tweets has been on your screen. Oh, right here. It's sad that we have endless amounts of money to drop on brown kids. This guy, look at this guy. Glazing themselves. What's that?
The first time you get on the Hassan stream, chatter, you can pat yourself on the back. Anytime you get, if I bring one of your tweets up, and you should be proud of yourself. I'm happy whenever one of my chatters gets a tweet. Now, that doesn't mean send me your tweet with 0 likes. Send me a tweet that you did that was so good that actually went viral, meaning at least 500 likes. That would be different. That's not even viral. That's just moderately successful tweet.
Fetterman ever this progressive? No, man. No, of course not. He would know what it takes as a politician.
By the way, I knew John Fetterman. John Fetterman literally gave someone I know $2,000 because they supported Medicare for all. Now he doesn't support Medicare for all. I literally know that. I literally got him to do that. I talked to him about a candidate who was single payer supporter, and he gave that guy thousands of dollars, and now he doesn't even support Medicare for all. The guy changed, okay? It's not just that we got tricked. He literally changed his positions. He had stated positions in the past, and he abandoned all those positions because he supported Israel, and he started getting attacked by everyone who was left-wing, so he abandoned all his left-wing positions and went further and further right. And the catalyst for doing that was supporting Israel. He thought you could be progressive except Palestine, and that does not exist. So he abandoned all the progressive shit. He is a liar, period. He tricked us. Now, is it going to happen again? Probably. But does that mean you give up because you assume everyone's going to lie? What the fuck's wrong with you? No.
Civilians. Janet.
Knowing John Fetterman on a personal basis is a bigger red flag than working for Blackwater. I mean, I knew him through politics, right? I knew him as somebody who was a Bernie Sanders supporter who supported Medicare for all and trans rights and legalizing magic mushrooms, okay? And being super pro-union, and you know what I mean? Like, that's how I knew him, okay? And being against the wars and shit. That's what I knew him from. I didn't... all the things that he changed, and by the way, his wife, I knew his wife as well. And she was an illegal immigrant who had a free store. What the fuck is a free store? It's exactly what it sounds like. She had a store where there were no prices. Everything was free. So, I knew these people. Did I ever ride in a vehicle with him? No, I didn't ride in a vehicle with him, but I did ride in a vehicle with his wife.
Mills was a machine gunner. Dude, are you unironically saying Janet Mills is better than Graham Plattner? Please, dude.
Janet Mills wants to create 1 million more Graham Plattners. Like, it's so funny to be like, I hate Graham Plattner, the soldier. That's why we need to support the person who wants to send 1 million more people to the Middle East to fight a war on Iran. It's like baby shit. It's 12-year-old brain where it's like, I don't want to be associated with the evil veteran because veterans mean American imperialism. If you're American, your hands are stained with the blood of imperialism. You are stained. You can't distance yourself from it at all. All of us are guilty, and that's not permission to be okay with it. It just means you need to grow the fuck up and stop trying to distance yourself by making posturing and tweets and shit. You're guilty, and until our country stops doing imperialism, you're guilty. And people absolutely have the right to be frustrated with Americans for letting this go on.
He was pro-Hamas, okay? He was giving Hamas credit in 2014. Okay, what more do you want? Oh, Jesus Christ. He said, that's a competent military operation. Very nice. That's what he said. While wearing a Nazi tattoo, of course he did. Come on, man. You come on. Please. But he wasn't a machine gunner for Hamas. Shaking my head. There are unconfirmed reports of explosions in Tehran, awaiting more info. All right, well, I mean, he's saying this now. We can't treat the Supreme Court as a functional constitutional body acting in a phase of corrupt far-right partisan court, and we have to treat it as such. Both Alito and Thomas should be impeached. Jesus Christ, dude. A lot of warplanes seen over Iraq. Yeah. Explosion in Tehran are what people are saying. Some are claiming that the war is back on. If Chud, why act like woke? Every PSL guy I know hates Plattner. I know. Well, they're PSL guys. It's fine. They're not voting anyway. Put it this way, I love someone is saying it, but I wish it wasn't him. I think in the eyes of the average American, he has a lot more legitimacy saying that shit than I do. Because the average American literally sees him as a guy who bled for this shit. And they see me as a annoying America hater who wants to do 9/11s every day. Okay? Just because I have an infallible, untarnished track record as being a guy who did not murder civilians doesn't change that calculation for the average American.
I still think it's a little sus. He hasn't been on either yours or Assad's stream. We deserve to be yelled at. We fucked him over by we went super hard on the tattoo. I understand being butthurt about that. He doesn't consider himself a socialist, which I consider to be a red flag, and I consider that to be cowardly. But presumably there's some sort of like polling he saw in Maine where it would be damaging, and so he's being a pussy about it. But he's fans of Majority Report. He is a Michael Brooks fan and a Sam Cedar fan. I'm willing to if you were to tell me, Mike, every Democratic senator is a fan of Sam Cedar, would you take that? The answer is yes. Okay, so I'm gonna take that for now.
Okay, it might for you. Yeah, you're a tank.
We have a test right now. Like, and Graham Plattner is he's like winning. Why take risks? You know, at this point, like, why go on Hassan's stream? There's no point. He's already fucking winning this thing. You know, like we didn't really boost him when he needed it. So now he's winning. He's gonna come on our stream. Like, come on.
Bitch, and he's a veteran. Well, most Americans don't know what fucking a tanky bitch is. Let's be real. I am PSL and I vote write-in every election. You just write in. That's all you write. You don't even write in a candidate. You just write in the write-in box. I'm a Mainer. What are your thoughts on Plattner? I like him. I think he has been unbelievable.
I'm so glad that I've convinced Hassan on this. And by the way, before anybody tries to say, "Oh, Mike, you're taking credit," no, I absolutely told him directly that Graham Plattner is fine and that it's fine. And a bunch of people were pressuring him to distance himself from Graham Plattner. So many people were pressuring himself to be cringe and not say anything nice about Graham Plattner. And I was the one who said, no, we should say something nice about Graham. So I'm taking fucking partial credit for this. Other people did as well, like Majority Report. But like, come the fuck on. And he told me that Cat was fine, which is true. And I'm glad that he did. I'm glad that he woke me up and he slapped me in the face and he said, what are you doing, man? Anti-Zionism is the most important point. And you know what? He's right. A person's position on Zionism is the most important position. And you know what? I've got my shit together, and that's the way I'm looking at it for the rest for the foreseeable future, until apartheid is dismantled. A person's position on Israel is the most important position. And I will be judging people based on that. That is my number one issue. She lost. I mean, she did well. Hopefully she runs for something else.
Unbelievably impressive in this cycle, going from a guy with a million red flags who I was not very excited or like, I thought he was cool at first, and then I found out his background. I really liked him at first because he came out of the gate swinging like, you know, Israel, Medicare for all. I was like, oh my God, looks like a chud, talks like a woke, thinks like a woke, perfect guy, right? And then I found out about his background. I was like, oh my God, that's insane. Four tours, machine gunner, and also Blackwater, get the out of here. And then there was like the totem cough tattoo, and I was like, oh my God, this is the totality of everything that this guy is unbelievable. However, my assessment was that he was, of course, far more preferable to Janet Mills regardless, and it was good that people were overlooking the red flags or didn't even consider it to be a red flag at all, but overlooking the red flags for the most part because he was saying all the right things. But since then, that was a year ago, right? That was a year ago. Bro, why did you say that? Like it's a good thing? Wait, what do you mean? No, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying it's clearly unbelievably bad. But since then, he has been unbelievably impressive in communicating very clearly a moral conviction that has been lost in American politics. One of the best. Having said that, of course, for a lot of people that normally don't participate in American elections anyway, he is irredeemable monster for being a machine gunner.
Did you talk to Hassad about Sakat? Seemed to have a solid policy position. Hassad said it was Ryan Grimm to hear Sakat out. Hassad and I have different positions on specifically the Ro Khanna Sakat circle. I'm much more skeptical of them than he is. All right, the Silicon Valley progressive guy, I don't know. I'm not sold on it, but I'm also not a hater where I'm like gonna obsess over it. I'd rather pay attention to the people I like. And I don't feel like there's a good and by the way, I would rather have Sakat in there than the fucking Zionist wiener. Are you fucking kidding me? So I'm not going to step in that race. I'd rather have Sakata in there than Wiener. So I really just don't.
But
I just don't care.
I have said since day one that regardless of
the other progressive in the race is a union-backed SF native who says it's a genocide. Yeah, I know. I heard about that, but it's tough. Politics is it's not just about always satisfying your personal preference in every situation. Right? It's like the Cat race. Like, Cat wasn't the best candidate on the issues. She was the closest to me that had a chance to win, right? And the question of, like, how far is too far before you no longer support someone? Or does the existence of somebody who's slightly better in the race but has no chance of winning, does that mean that you should stay neutral and let someone who's actually your enemy win? And there is no clean answer to that question. Politics is a popularity contest. It's also a measure of motion. It's not just a measure of positions. It's also a measure of motion. If it was just positions, that would be easy. That's actually why I want a different electoral system. The problem with our system is it's not based on positions. It's based on motion of an individual. That's part of why it sucks dick. It's like we elect individuals and positions are just part of that. We don't have what's called a party list. In another electoral system, you could have what's called a party list, which is you have a political party and that political party puts people on a list based on their motion within the organization and their positions. And then they get elected when a certain amount of people vote for a party, right? That's a proportional representation party list model, which is different than, so like, here's an example. Let's say there's 3 parties. They each get 33% of the vote. There are 100 members on the, or 99 members to make it easy. 99 members in the body, right? You would each party would get 33 members. How do you determine who those 33 people are? Well, each party before the election puts out a list of 99 names, right? And the party ranks the names. So the person who's number 1 on the list, they get as soon as that party gets to 1%, they become a parliament member. And you count down the list for each percentage point. You count down in each name on the list until you get to the 33rd name, and that person is a rep. So that's the party list model. And how do you determine the list? Well, that's internal to the party. The party figures that out inside their own membership organization. So the voters select, you know, which party they want to have power, right? And then it's proportioned out via proportional representation. That's one way you could do it. I actually prefer a system like that. I think the voters should be voting on policies, not personalities. As much as we can, we should be not try to make politics about personalities. Nonetheless, it will be personalities because the party will have some sort of leader, some sort of spokesperson. There's going to be personalities. There's going to be vibes. That's always going to be part of humanity. But I would like to limit that. Unfortunately, America's the opposite. America has a system that's focused primarily on personalities, primarily focused on, like, do you like this person? And you vote for this person, which sucks. Obviously, that sucks because people focus too much on the personalities they like and not enough on, like, what personalities are for, which is getting elected to win power. And to pass policies, we need numbers. So that's kind of why our system sucks so much ass, is that, you know, we need to have 216 individual districts elected with people that agree with us. That fucking sucks, man. That's hard.
Of my suspicions of certain red flags, that he would be a use case for the rest of the country to show that you can actually go to a purple state and run the most progressive guy you can. And guess what? He is the most progressive guy, and he is actually doing unbelievably well. And he's going to, inshallah, defeat, once the primaries are over, he's already cleaned it.
Here's the thing about Maine. And this is a point that I think I wish Hassan would make more, and I wish and every blue sky liberal refuses to deal with. They already ran a blue sky liberal. They already ran a blue sky liberal in Maine. Her name is Sarah Gideon. They already did this. Okay? They already did the centrist, white, liberal Hillary Clinton clone. They already tried that. And she got fucking smoked. She got fucking smoked. And she had infinite money. She had $48 million. She underperformed Joe Biden by 18 points. We already tried the strategy of do the centrist Hillary Clinton clone white female lib strategy. We already tried it. And she got fucking destroyed, okay? Destroyed. She ended her campaign with millions of dollars in her bank account because she had nothing left to spend it on. And she got fucking smashed while Joe Biden won. Joe Biden won Maine. Joe Biden won Maine. So she underperformed Joe Biden by a significant number, okay? She was a fucking loser. We've already tried the strategy that the fucking blue sky liberals are complaining about. So why don't we just try having someone who's a populist, progressive white dude? Why don't we just try that, right? And she was a politician, and she was the Speaker of the Maine House, and she was experienced, and she had everything that you could possibly ask for, and she got fucking annihilated, okay? But nobody talks about this race. It goes down the memory hole. It goes down the fucking memory hole. Like, it didn't even happen. She got fucking smashed. What do you want me to say? The hotly contested race became the most expensive in Maine history, with Collins spending $23 million and Gideon nearly $48 million. Gideon underperformed winning Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden by 10.6%. It was actually worse than that. Her performance was the second worst underperformance by a Democratic Senate candidate in the country. Everybody heard her messaging and they hated her fucking guts. Everybody heard centrist Democrat Sarah Gideon and she got fucking smoked. That's the fucking plan. And centrist Democrats, chat, they don't want to win. They don't want to win. If Bernie Sanders would win 100 senators, centrist Democrats still wouldn't want it. I would say that again. If you could have 100 Democratic senators and they were all Bernie Sanders clones, centrist Democrats would rather have Republican power. That's why I don't even think this party should exist. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think the Democratic Party should exist. It should go away because it's incoherent. You can't be the party of billionaires and the party of labor, and they're the party of billionaires, and they want to force labor to vote for them because we have to. But the problem is they're not popular at all. In fact, they make any other party, like the Democratic Party, hurts you. Like being a member of the Democratic Party hurts you in most states. I saw a Mr. Beat video talking about how Democrats are the more conservative party in America. He's right. Mr. Beat is also a conservative. Mr. Beat should be a Republican. I don't know if you guys know that YouTuber, but Mr. Beat should be a Republican. Like the guy is a Republican, but he is also a like liberal. So he's forced to, I mean, he's right.
Who's conservative?
He thinks that's good though. He thinks it's good that the Democrats are more conservative than the Republicans. I think it's bad.
Are you conservative?
No.
I'm Mr. Beat, and in some ways, I'm conservative. In other ways, not so much. Dictionary?
When it comes to politics,
liberals are just conservatives who hate other conservatives.
Conservatism is a set of beliefs that promotes preserving traditional values. And when I say traditional, I mean stuff handed down from generation to generation to generation.
Very, very weird here to put in some sort of like, I'm sorry, this is a huge red flag for me. Mr. Beat, I know you're not that bad of a guy, but this is fucking cringe, dude. Why are you putting in some like identity that you don't understand with or identify with to like orientalize the idea of traditionalism? Come on, man. Come on.
Into generation. You get the idea, right? Being a conservative means you also often want to protect traditional customs, culture, and institutions.
Generally speaking, conservatives are cool with the status quo, with keeping things more or less the same.
Correct.
Conservatives often get classified as, quote, right-wing. However, as I explained in this video, which I released 6 years ago, holy poop. As I explained in that video, that can be misleading because the whole right-wing...
Why does he have the libertarian square? Why is he using the libertarian.org political compass?
Wing spectrum is problematic, to say the least.
In the United States of America, yes, the USA, we have two major political parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. When most Americans hear, quote, conservative, they don't think cautious about institutional change. They think low taxes, pro-guns, strong border, anti-abortion, and indeed, for most of my entire life, the Republican Party has generally been considered the more conservative party in the United States. The party that wanted to keep things the same. The party of traditional values. The Democratic Party, on the other hand, was considered the less conservative party. You know, the party that wanted to change things. By the way,
that's when they were more popular.
The Republicans have only been calling Democrats liberal since the 1980s. Both parties used to call themselves that before then. Anyway.
Because it's a uniparty. Because accurately, both parties have pretty much the same views on almost everything. At least after the 40s. After FDR died, the Democratic Party turned into a controlled opposition party for the capitalists. They're both liberal parties, and he's right about that. That's what's bad about America, is we don't have a left-wing party. That's why our country is falling apart, because we can't fix any problems.
In this video, I'm going to make a take that's hot.
It's not a hot take. It's a correct take.
I think there's a compelling argument that the Democratic Party is actually the more conservative major political party in recent years.
Yeah. I mean, only in the sense of, I think the answer is no, he's wrong. And the reason why he's wrong is because he's actually making his audience dumber. And I don't mean that. I'm not trying to be mean, Mr. Beat. I just think that you're making your audience dumber because change is a neutral word. What type of change? The answer is reactionary change, aka status quo ante. They want to go back to a time before the previous changes, right? They want to go back to America when there was racial segregation. They want to go back to an America where women were in the home. There was not there was gender oppression where queer people were subordinated or outright banned. They want to do this. So they want to do change, but back to a previous status quo. They don't want to go. Now, obviously, we can get into fascism and how it's a mythical past, and the past that they're aiming at didn't ever actually exist, and all these other things. That's just confusing the issue. The Republicans want to change back. They're not trying to get change to improve things. They're trying to change things to make them back to some imagined past, some reactionary past. So we have a conservative party and a reactionary party. But reaction is still just more conservative. It's a rejection of a previous change to a previous status quo. That's just even further to the right. So we have a right-wing party and a further right party. You're right.
Wait, hold up. Will you please hear me out? Oh no, you already smashed that dislike button.
And the reason why I think this is confusing is, I mean, Mr. Beat, do you think this is a bad thing? Do you think it's a bad thing that Democrats are a conservative party? I actually don't know, because he is an FDR hater, which is historically illiterate. FDR is by far and away America's best president, and it's not close. No one else comes close to FDR. Maybe LBJ or part of his first term, okay? But no one else comes close to FDR. No one, all right? So if you're an FDR skeptic, you are stupid. You're legitimately stupid.
Lame. Well, this sucks. My career is over. Dang it. Well, I guess I should just...
By the way, you could say he did horrible things, and you're right. He absolutely did. He absolutely did. The internment camps were wrong. The, having compromises with the Dixiecrats in the New Deal was absolutely terrible. But you're talking about comparing him to other presidents, okay? And what he actually accomplished in the New Deal is earth-shattering. And I think people don't really know what that means when I say New Deal. They just say New Deal, and they have whatever sense they have of what the New Deal means. They don't really understand it. My only clause about FDR is that the New Deal seemed to be a way to stop communism. If you actually read what a lot of the thinkers that were behind the New Deal were saying, there was a lot of socialists in there. There was a lot of people that thought that they would strangle capitalism in the cradle. They would make the capitalists so small they could be strangled. There was all sorts of redistributive and anti-capitalist thinkers within the New Deal. It's a lot more complicated than people think, but it's absolutely right that it was an attempt to prevent violent, escalatory, collapse of the system. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. That's true. But thinking like, oh, if things were just worse, then we would have had communism is silly. Worseism is kind of a silly belief system in my view. It's far more likely that America became fascist if things remained bad than it would have had some sort of communist revolution, in my opinion.
Be captured by my audience, right? Whatever you say goes. You're always right.
FDR's presidency was a period where the Red Scare was terminated. The Red Scare was largely like subordinated or largely like slowed down significantly. And there was a lot more tolerance of socialism and communist thought during FDR's administration, during the whole period of time. There was a very bad Red Scare in the 20s and teens, and then there was another one in the 50s.
Nah, dude. In this video, let's make the argument that the Democratic Party is the more conservative political party.
Right.
You know, just for funsies.
No, it's not for funsies. It's correct. They are absolute 100% the status quo party. 1,000% true.
I hate to break it to you, but every time you go online, giant corporations are stealing your money for once again sponsoring this video. Here is why I think there's a solid argument that the Democratic Party is the more conservative major party in the United States in recent years. Hey, keep an open mind, Jackie. First of all, my definition of conservatism, which again is a set of beliefs that promotes preserving traditional values, goes back to the OG conservative, Edmund Burke. Considered one of the most influential conservative philosophers of the 1700s, baby, Burke hated the French Revolution's radical upheaval. He hated tearing down everything old for abstract ideals like liberty, equality, fraternity. Nah, dude. Burke argued for prudence, cautious, gradual change. Respect existing institutions, man. Preserve what works. Burke famously said, society is a, quote, partnership, not only between those who are living, but between those who are living, those who are dead, and those who are to be born. Based on all that, I speculate that if Burke was around today, he would say the Democratic Party was the more conservative major political party right now. And here are 3 reasons why. The Democratic Party seems to be for conserving the country's core political institutions, or the rules, norms, and organizations that have guided our behavior for generations. You know, stuff like federal agencies, the 3 branches of government, separation of powers among them, and within them, checks and balances, federalism, free and fair elections, peaceful power transfers.
All right, hold on. I got to go back to the beginning of this list.
Norms and organizations that have guided our behavior for generations. You know, stuff like federal agencies.
FDR largely created most federal agencies. So without FDR, you pretty much don't get this, especially the novel, the Wickard v. Filburn interpretation of the Commerce Clause, which is a vital pillar of the agency model, which is where you widely construe the Commerce Clause to give the federal government power to regulate almost every activity of human behavior that could be considered economic. So without FDR, none of this takes place. So that's just something to underline. Without FDR, there are no real federal agencies.
The 3 branches of government, separation of powers among them.
The only reason the reason why we have judicial review is that the Supreme Court gave themselves that power. So the reason why we have, such a powerful judiciary is the judiciary gave themselves that power, and we largely went along with it. But if you read the Constitution, it's very clear that Congress could and is fully empowered to basically make the Supreme Court a subordinate branch. It's just the way that we have been interpreting the powers of the Supreme Court after Marbury v. Madison and other cases where we have accepted judicial review, but certainly it shouldn't be co-equal, quite honest with you. Like, one of the major problems with America is we have too many anti-democratic policy-making institutions. And so that's why America sucks so much, because we can't change anything because there's too many veto points. And one of the worst veto points is the Supreme Court. Now, if you could transfer the Supreme Court into Mike from PA head, if you put me on the Supreme Court 9 times, then I would say make the Supreme Court more powerful. Why? Because I would be getting exactly the policy outcomes I desire. And I think my policy outcomes are good. But if you feel a little bit shaky about that idea, well, then you should feel shaky about the fucking Supreme Court as it currently is, because you have a bunch of George W. Bush and Donald Trump appointed shills of the billionaires making the decisions right now. You have 6 corrupt pieces of shit making all their preferred policy outcomes the law of the land. The Supreme Court sucks.
3 branches of government, separation of powers among them, and within them, checks and balances, federalism, free and fair elections, peaceful power transfers, or the Constitution itself. The Republican Party, more often than not, seems to question these political institutions. Here's a prime example of this. After the presidential election of 2020, millions of Republican voters, as well as a majority of Republican members of Congress, challenged the election results. They protested across the country. All of this culminated with the January 6th United States Capitol attack, which saw President Donald Trump's supporters violently raid the Capitol building in order to prevent the certification of the election results. Flash forward to the presidential election of 2024, and Democratic voters, even though many of them were shocked and all of them were disappointed, overwhelmingly accepted the results. Here's another example. In his second term, Trump has overhauled federal agencies, fired thousands of civil servants, went to war without Congress, and straight up consolidated power in the executive branch. If Burke was around today, he'd call that radical experimentation, not careful conservation. Hundreds of political scientists have said that the United States is straight up headed toward authoritarianism. In case there's any confusion on this, the United States has never been an authoritarian country.
I don't even know what to say at this point. I made a video talking about de Tocqueville. I brought up, Clarence Thomas did a speech, and nobody gives a shit about this, and it was like a worst performing video for like years.
Exception of the.
But I thought it was important to do anyway, to try to make people have a little bit of history education. Obviously, no one gives a shit. No one cares about this. They don't know. They don't know anything.
Tocqueville visited early America from France. He was struck that there was no country in the civilized.
I decided to cite Alexis de Tocqueville because I've actually read him. Unlike everybody who cites him, I have actually read Alexis de Tocqueville. I've actually done the work. I've done the reading, and I know that a large portion of it is saying how America is right to hold huge sections of humanity in utter subjugation.
World where they were less occupied with philosophy than the United States.
So the principal task, part of the task which I had imposed upon myself, is not performed. I've shown, as far as I was able, the laws and manners of American democracy. Here I might stop, but the reader would perhaps feel that I had not satisfied his expectations. The absolute supremacy of democracy is not all that we meet within America. The inhabitants of the New World may be considered from more than one point of view. And this course of work, my subject has often led me to speak of the Indians and the Negroes. But I have never been able to stop in order to show what place these two races occupy in the midst of the democratic people whom I was engaged in describing. I have mentioned in what spirit and according to what laws the Anglo-American Union was formed, but I could only glance at the dangers which menaced that confederation, whilst it was equally impossible for me to give a detailed account of its chances of duration independently of its laws and manners. So in other words, he's saying, oh, it's democratic as long as you're not black or indigenous, and that's really dangerous. Among these widely differing families of men, the first which attracts attention, the superior intelligence and power and enjoyment, is the white or European, the man preeminent, and in subordinate grades, the Negro and the Indian. These two unhappy races have nothing in common, neither birth nor features nor language nor habits. Their only resemblance lies in their misfortunes. This is, by the way, de Tocqueville. Have you ever read it before? Both of them occupy an inferior rank in the country they inhabit. Both suffer from tyranny. And if their wrongs are not the same, they originate, at any rate, with the same authors, aka white people. If we read I'm bringing this up because Alexis de Tocqueville, liberals' famous favorite describer of America, said that America was tyrannical toward black people and indigenous people. So America was an authoritarian country, unless you were a white man, which is why Mr. Beat can say with a straight face, America was never an authoritarian country, because he's white and he doesn't consider those perspectives to matter. To me, America has always been an authoritarian country. It only started to attempt democracy after 1965. America before 1965 was an authoritarian country. So all time before 1965, authoritarian. Only the period since 1965 has it even attempted to be a republic. That's the fucking facts. And Donald Trump, by the way, represents an attempt to end that democratic period. He is an attempt to return to the pre-1965 authoritarian America that he, I mean, that's just a fucking fact. There's no way to even disagree with that and be liberal.
Well, not fully. The Democratic Party, meanwhile, has moved into the role of institutionalist. They are consistently trying to protect government agencies and congressional norms. This is probably the clearest example. Since World War II, conservative foreign policy often meant internationalism. It meant strong alliances and American leadership influence over the rest of the world.
So I just want to stop this. And this is why I'm not a fan of Mr. Beat, right? Because I don't believe in euphemistic language and I don't believe in obscuring reality to trick your audience. I don't think that you should engage in propagandistic lying, which is what he's doing right here. Now, he's using euphemistic language to describe genocide and mass ethnic cleansing, mass political cleansing, and pure unadulterated violence and alliances with dictatorships, monarchies, and fascist murder states. When he says American leadership and internationalism, that is what he's describing. For example, in the NATO alliance, there's Greece. Greece went through a horrible civil war where they basically genocided the people who fought the Nazis in favor of propping up the Nazi collaborators who eventually won the Greek Civil War. That is who Greece is represented. And I don't believe what year did Greece even become a democracy? 1974. So in this photo, it was a fascist dictatorship. Hello from Greece. It was a fascist dictatorship in this picture where they mass killed lefties. So when he's talking about American leadership, that's what he's really talking about. And again, either he knows this and he's using euphemistic language to lie to you, or he doesn't know this, in which case he should not be teaching anybody anything. So which is it? Ignorance or malice?
Particularly with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, a military alliance of 32 European and North American democratic countries.
So that's not true. You don't have to be democratic to be in NATO. As I said, Spain was a dictatorship. Portugal was a fascist dictatorship. Greece was a fascist dictatorship. You don't have to be democratic to be in NATO. That's not true. That's actually not true. And it has never been true.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
That was the Republican brand. But today, many prominent Republicans, led by Trump, of course, have turned their backs on allies.
We're going to build a wall. It's going to be built.
They've questioned NATO and pulled back from international agreements.
As President of the United States, I will always
Portugal itself was an active fascist dictatorship when it joined NATO. Italy had Mussolini collaborators in its government when it joined NATO. Greece was under a military junta. Turkey, I believe, was also under a military junta when they joined NATO. So, like, what are we talking about here? What the fuck are we saying?
Put America first. Just like you, as the leaders of your countries, will always and should always put your countries first.
And who seems to be defending the post-World War II global order now? The Democrats. They are the ones arguing for the preservation and even strengthening of the alliance system that has defined the last 80 years. For a long time, conservative meant being cool with free trade and against protectionism, or the restriction of trade to protect domestic industries from foreign competition. Today, oh, they're much cooler with protectionism. They're perfectly cool with using the power of government to pick winners and losers through tariffs and trade wars. The biggest critics of tariffs have been Democrats.
California Governor Gavin Newsom and State Attorney General Bob Bonta announcing a lawsuit Tuesday against the Trump administration and its authority to unilaterally enact tariffs on trade partners around the globe.
The Republican Party used to mostly be the party of Wall Street and big business. Now, the Democratic Party is just as much in bed with Wall Street and big business, if not more so. Okay, let's be real here. This isn't a slam dunk.
In his life, Christ displayed true humility. In his death, he modeled true love.
On social and cultural issues, Republicans still generally lean more conservative. Many Republicans are against abortion expansion, against the federal government doing anything about climate change, against too much immigration, for school choice, for traditional family structures, and for traditional gender roles.
School choice. That means using federal money for religious indoctrination and scam schools, basically.
On all these issues, the Democrats are still the party of change. Many Republicans also more consistently talk about fiscal conservatism, or making sure the government doesn't spend so much money. Well, they talk about it, but Republicans currently in power have done nothing to actually rein in spending in recent years. Now, some modern Republicans might even argue
recent years they never have. What the fuck is he saying?
That they are trying to restore an older America, like before the federal government dramatically grew throughout the 20th century. Okay, fair point, I guess. But even supposed restoration requires massive, dramatic upheaval. You can't go back to 1956 without tearing apart a lot of what exists in 2026. That's not preservation. That's revolution. The bottom line is, when we look at the function of the two major political parties, the roles have flipped. The Republican Party is now the party of radical reform, populism, and dismantling institutions.
Oh, okay. I get what the purpose of this video is. The purpose of the video is to attack populism. That's what the purpose of the video is. Oh, the purpose of the video is to attack reform and populism. Oh, okay. So in other words, he's trying to smear shit off on the progressive wing by saying that the Republicans are actually what it looks like when you get progressive reform or populist reform. Now, they're not populists. They have all the billionaires in their party. They do faux populism. So as I said, Mr. Beat is an obscurantist. He is, I mean, again, this is absolute slop. I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't think there was anything contributed by this video. I'll be honest with you. But I'm going to keep watching.
The Democratic Party is the party of institutionalism, international stability, and preserving the status.
Guys, it's really stable when we support a genocide in Gaza, which leads to a complete convulsions throughout the Middle East. It's really, guys, when we fight a dirty war supporting ISIS to dismantle a regime that is opposed to American hegemony in the Middle East, and we do it by supporting ISIS and Al-Qaeda in multiple countries, Libya and Syria. That's the status quo party. Expanding NATO further towards the Russian border, that's the status quo party, not the radical interventionist party. Stability. Institutions is when you try to destroy the United Nations because they tried to prosecute Benjamin Netanyahu. Neither one of these parties are in favor of institutions except for supporting Israel.
quo. So the argument ain't that Democrats are conservative on everything. They're just more conservative on the fundamentals of government, the rule of law, institutions, and cautious change. And I have to point out that a growing number of Democrats are not like that. Many Democrats are now calling for more dramatic reforms like universal health care, universal basic income, a wealth tax, and straight up amending the Constitution to end partisan gerrymandering and bring in a number of voting reforms. Then again, calling to amend the Constitution as opposed to straight up reinterpreting the Constitution however you want to still seems somewhat conservative these days. Politics isn't static. As I point out in my party systems video, political parties evolve, and even political labels can mean different things to different people and at different times in history. For decades, conservative has often been interlinked with stability, responsibility, and caution, all qualities most voters value. Liberal, on the other hand, has often been interlinked with recklessness, radicalism, and instability. Things most
I mean, like, first of all that radical means is that you think there needs to be fundamental reform. Who could look at America today and not be radical? Seriously, America needs radical reform. That means fundamental changes to the way our government operates. And if you disagree with that, I think you don't really pay much attention. Because I don't know about you, but seeing the American streets continue to deteriorate, every single institution in America is falling apart. I mean, what are you even saying?
Voters distrust. My main point is, whenever a politician calls themselves a conservative, ask them why they call themselves a conservative. Voters should judge based on principles, not labels. I consider...
He has LBJ at D tier with Grant. He has FDR at B tier with Lincoln. I mean, this is just... I'm sorry, guys. Like, give me a fucking break.
Myself a conservative when it comes to certain aspects of my country that have been around for centuries.
Like what?
You know, stuff like separation of powers, checks and balances.
In what way are those good? In what way is that good? Other than it being some sort of religious catechism that you've taken up, why is it good for the country to have excessive veto points? Which, by the way, that is why the Roman Republic fell, in case you're wondering. The Roman Republic fell because an oligarchic class of nobility sucked up so much wealth that they started destroying the republic's economy for citizens and freemen, and were replacing agricultural labor with slaves. And so the people of Rome were destitute while an accelerating wealth of the oligarchy imperiled the country, imperiled the republic, up until the point where they destroyed and assassinated multiple populist leaders. It wasn't just Caesar. They had been assassinating populist leaders for quite a while. So it was the excessive veto points that made any kind of reform impossible, which is what checks and balances does. I want democratic responsiveness. If the American people say such and such is a problem, the government should act with celerity to solve the problem instead of getting tripped up over procedural bullshit. It's drivel. And if it turns out that the strategy didn't work, the American people can vote in a different strategy and restore what was lost. It's not like a change happens and then nothing ever happens in response. Either the reforms work or they don't. If they don't work, they can be rolled back. That's what democracy is. Federalism is stupid. It is bureaucratic duplication. And the federal districts are not brought in with any kind of rational basis. It makes absolutely no sense that California and Wyoming have the same amount of representation and power in the Senate. And Wyoming was not brought into this country based on a rational justification of its district. So you're talking about a system that is not rationally justifiable, and the only basis for it continuing is tradition. We had a Senate, so we all continue to have a Senate, and it has led to our country being ungovernable. You are actually not capable of defending your own points. You just say things that have been triggered in your brain to mean good. And as far as rule of law, that's laughably stupid. America doesn't have rule of law. We don't have rule of law. We're ignoring our laws right now. We're funding Israel as they commit a genocide. That's against our laws. We are impugning upon the First Amendment and going after immigrants. That's against our laws. Our government is acting in a lawless manner all over the world. That's a violation of our laws. The president of the United States, backed up by the Supreme Court, said that he couldn't be indicted while president. That's the law. So he's above the law because he's president. That's not rule of law. That's rule of him, a man. All of those things are bad. Every single thing he just named is bad. I would much rather live in a society that was democratically responsive and that if you elected somebody to do something, they were able to do it. That would be a far better system than the one we have now, where people get elected, but then they can't actually carry out their policies because there's 8 levels of veto that block them.
Federalism, the rule of law.
Terrible.
Sure, the brand of conservatism may still be associated with the Republican Party, but the practice of conservatism is arguably more associated with the Democratic Party these days. That doesn't make the Democrats right or the Republicans wrong. It doesn't mean you should vote one way or...
Honestly, what that means is you should dismantle both parties because they're fucking trash. Like... You know, the only reason I've ever said to support anybody who's running as a Democrat is because they could win power. I only support people if they are in opposition to the Democratic Party as it is today.
Another. It just means our political vocabulary is struggling to keep up with a quickly shifting political reality. And honestly, I think that's worth knowing, which is why I'm gonna make a video about it. I promise. Apparently, I already did make a video about it. As a matter of fact, I'm in it right now. And you just watched it. Ha! But what do you think? Am I full of crap? Well, we're all full of crap. That's why we go to the bathroom. But you know what I mean. Let me know.
He likes Calvin Coolidge and Dwight Eisenhower.
Down below. And
we need more political hygiene.
I get told kind of often that I look/sound like Jodie Foster.
No saying this guy sounds like me, please. What's up, iDubbbz? No. I'm not a fan of Mr. Beat.
Often that I look/sound like Jodie Foster.
Why is it the fuck's going on? TikTok, are you okay?
Impress me. I get told kind of often that I look/sound like Jodie Foster.
There we go, it's playing.
Impress me.
Anyway, can I have a few more frames, please, sir? Yes, you may have. You may have a few more frames. All in all, let me just say this. The shooter was a Dylan Burns fan. The shooter was anti-Hassan. I fucking called it. I knew it would happen. I said that immediately. My first reaction is, I want to see Dylan Burns and Destiny of that follow list, so it's so funny. Unfortunately, we can't get access to the follow list, but we can see who he reposted. And the answer is Olivia Juliana and Brianna Wu and Dylan Burns. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first DGG shooter, as far as I'm aware. Okay. I think we reacted to this video already. And I don't think it was so bad, but I think a lot of people kind of don't understand the political reality of the 30s. And they talk about the New Deal in a way that indicates to me that they're not very familiar with the politics of the 30s and just how radically FDR was positioning himself. Both his vice president and his wife were openly pro-racial desegregation. Up until he got, I mean, even like, so as far as like where FDR stood in the Democratic Party, he was continually supporting integration of black people and pushing against the Dixiecrat wing. Now, there were some compromises that came out of Congress that were definitely racially motivated, but if you're aware of the political realities of the 30s, FDR, and that's why he won 60% of the black vote, which is the first time a Democrat won the black vote. FDR, AOC is endorsing Sam Forstag. I'm not familiar with Sam. Is he a lefty? Or is he like, okay, Buy into Medicare. Boring. I don't give a shit. Good luck, Montana. Won't be getting any help from me. He wanted to because black people wanted anything they could get for all minorities, not just black folks. Black people are at the leading edge of all change in this country. 100% true. The most progressive group of men in the world is black American men. And there really is no one else that's close. Black American men are by far and away the most progressive grouping of men in the entire world. And it's nowhere, and no one else is close. They don't get enough credit for that. In fact, they get blamed if like 79% of them vote for a left-wing candidate. People start yelling at them and blaming them. And it's like, consider that the most progressive men in the world, maybe back the fuck off and just say thank you. Track AIPAC lies about their numbers, lies about their methodologies, and lies about American activists. Wow, I can't believe, I can't believe the people that are working with, wow, look at that. Wow, would you look at that? They shouldn't trust you at all. Ew. I wish people were 5% as mean as me. All right, there's one other video I wanted to show you guys, which is Zoran. Zoran went on to MSNBC and was talking to Trump supporters.
The $1 million question. Trump. Donald Trump. The swing is because people want lower prices. They probably believe that Trump would give them that.
Rent is expensive. Foods are going up. Utility bills are up.
And that's your hope, to see a little bit more of an affordable life?
Absolutely.
My name is Zoran Mamdani. I'm going to be running for mayor next year. Wow. Yes, sir.
The dawn of Mayor Mamdani's campaign was going out to Fordham Road here in the Bronx and Hillside Avenue in Queens right after Trump got elected, to find out why people in this very democratic city were so ticked off. And the answer they kept coming back to was affordability. Things are too expensive. Mayor Mamdani's back with me here. Joining us now, Christiane Spariasu, a former Trump supporter, voter who supported the mayor, Sarah Bediako, whose daughter is in a pre-K class. The mayor and President Obama visited here in the Bronx last weekend. You might have seen pictures of that. Great to have you both here. Christiane, let me start with you just because the sort of conceit of that video the mayor did was, if you looked at New York City returns, Trump got a lot more votes than you might have expected. You were a Republican, Trump supporter, Trump voter. What sort of driven you in the direction that you are now in terms of voting for the mayor, and what are you looking for from him now?
Yeah, so like some of my background, I went to Siena College, double majored in economics and political science with the goal of helping people in public policy and getting involved in government. I always had strong principles of conservative values of limited government, for example, not getting involved in foreign wars. So when I saw Trump campaign as a populist for the American people, saying we're going to lower inflation, we're going to support the American worker, and we won't get involved in foreign wars, that really attracted me to his campaign, which that was obviously all a lie, especially like right now, we're fighting a war in Iran.
Your politics have changed over time, but you know, this question of sort of prioritizing workers and bringing inflation down, like how much do you still think of that as a North Star for whether this mayor succeeds or not?
Well, like I really admire like you championing affordability, especially when it comes to housing, for instance. I live in a rent-stabilized apartment, so over the years in the story, I've seen more and more people get pushed out of the neighborhood because they can't afford the rent, especially immigrant families. And you're pro-union, I really support that.
One of the dynamics of this city, right? One of the challenges is there's lots of very rich people. There's a lot of people really struggling. And there's things you can do on the policy side. You could tax some of those rich folks and you could create services, universal pre-K for folks that are struggling.
This sounds great.
Yes, but also you want to build middle-class jobs, right? Like if it keeps going in that direction of a city of like Wall Street folks and billionaires and folks that are just like making minimum wage, that's a
part of making jobs. Part of making a just society is that minimum wage jobs lead to what we now consider to be a middle-class lifestyle. A minimum wage job should be a living wage. The minimum wage should be a living wage. That means you have your own place, you have health care, you have child care, you have education and skills training, you have health care, if I didn't mention that, and you have leisure time. You have disposable income. Like you live a secure lifestyle. Minimum wage should not be some sacrificial job that you take that you don't deserve a dignified life. All jobs should be what we call middle-class jobs.
Tough cities to sustain. It's a tough city to sustain culturally, fiscally, financially. Like,
I'm in a consumer's house and they're watching Fox News and Hasan is on again. That's incredible.
How do you think about that, about building a middle class here that's independent of taxing the rich, paying for services?
I think that's at the heart of what we're looking to do, because what the middle class represents to so many, not just New Yorkers, but Americans, is stability. It's dignity. It's the ability to not just go out there and work, but also have somewhere to come home to at the end of the day and be able to rest on top of that. And
not need the government to subsidize you directly, right? Or not be depending on programs.
Well, I think the beauty of a public good is that it should be so good that everyone uses it, right? To me, I don't want public goods to be something that you only use if you don't have enough money in your pocket. The dream of New York City is in many ways the dream of the subway at its best, right? It's the fastest way to get around. Right. It doesn't matter how much money you have. That's how you get to where you're going. And that's what we want childcare to be. That's what we want so much of this city to be, so that working class New Yorkers are not worried about whether they can survive in this city, but actually, can they build a life in this city? That's what we want the answer to be.
The childcare, your daughter, right, is in the childcare. Got to meet the former president of the United States the other day.
Yes, that was a surprise. So thank you for bringing it. Yes, so she's in a childcare right now, learning through play. It's a great place that she's at. I feel safe and comfortable, and I don't have to worry about her going to that class. I wish that they had it for 2K because I had to stay home for almost 2 years to care for her because childcare was so expensive when I was researching.
Yeah, and that's another part. Like, when you have these institutions and they're done and they're performed, you get a bunch of marginal workers back into the economy, which raises productivity because childcare is best provisioned collectively, right? Like a person who is trained in young childhood education is going to provide better childcare than it being done one by one. And there's also the pro-social element of learning and being around children and adults that you're not related to in a safe, developmentally aware model, so the children can learn how to share, how to cooperate, how to communicate their emotions, how to interact with other people that they don't control, that they get socialized, they get educated, they get a an adult who's trained, who can make sure that they're not developmentally falling behind. It's good for the child to be in education early.
At that time, it was almost 1K a week just for my child to go to a quality and safe childcare program.
And you're not alone in that. This is the story of so many parents who a good deal would be if they found $20,000 a year for childcare. That's a good deal in New York City. And this is not something that just affects working class New Yorkers or middle class New Yorkers. We have people making north of 6 figures for whom that is still going to have a huge impact on their ability to live in the city.
Christian has gone fully from CPAC to socialism. Chris Quinones here with us.
Michael Tracy is saying he will give a beatdown to Olivia Giuliana? What? Who are you sending in your stead, Olivia Giuliana? I would have loved to give you the nice beatdown you requested. No holds barred. What? This actually, I thought this would get ratioed super hard, but goddamn, actually it's getting likes. God, if you stand there and pray, you will feel his presence. I'll say 3 Hail Marys and hope you appear in all your glory. Michael, if you want Olivia to visit you, just set out a dozen crumble cookies, okay? Like, come on, man. Don't make threats like that on the fucking Twitter account. Like, what are you doing, man? Come on, man.
You might recognize who was in. And I remember seeing you in that video when you said, $1 million question. And then you said, you're a Republican. You voted for Trump.
Thanks for the pitchforks.
No, New York contains multitudes, and we welcome them all. Yeah. Do you have a question for the mayor, or what are you looking for him to deliver on for you to become a convert or at least a supporter?
I'm a reasonable person. I mean, given what people think and say about Republicans, I don't parrot. I think for myself. Maybe I'm unique, maybe I'm not. I'll leave that for smarter people. What I would like to say is that I understand where you're coming from, what you want to provide for the people. And my personal belief, not that I'm going to parrot, but my personal belief is that if you're going to charge me a tax, I want you to show me something for it.
This is the #1 most effective thing we can do. is actually provide high quality services. That's why liberal means testing is a terrible idea, because it undermines support for taxation. People would rather pay slightly more in taxes and then know that they're getting a concrete benefit than pay a lower level of tax and never receive any concrete benefit. This is a reality. How do I know this? I talk to a lot of Swedes and Norwegians. The kind of like normie take from people in Norway is like, yeah, I know exactly what my tax dollars are going for. And so they pay a higher tax rate in general. More of their GDP is collected and expended as part of the government, but they know what they're getting and they're happy with it. And the government is spending money to try to release their anxiety. Imagine if you never had to do your taxes again. Imagine if you never had to do your taxes again. You never had to deal with an insurance company again, like a health insurance company again. Just imagine. Never had to worry about that ever again. Never had to worry about paying your student loan again. Never had to worry about finding good childcare again. That's the reality that people live in. Imagine going on public transit and it's on time, it's clean, and it's convenient and safe, of course. Imagine it was more convenient to just walk out of your front door, walk half a block, hop onto a tram that comes every 7 minutes, and it takes you directly to your destination. Maybe you have, there's no, and you just sit there and it's bright and clean and comfortable and free or extremely low cost. That is preferable to the world that we're living in America.
So I don't know how people feel about taxes, because people, feel differently about taxes. And that's a conversation for another time. But what I would say is, if you can show beyond any reasonable doubt that if this, whatever you're planning had to go to court, beyond any reasonable doubt, that any New Yorker on the street can say, you know what, I'm willing to pay that extra dollar.
Yeah.
That's the big question, right? It's one of the highest tax jurisdictions in the country, right? New York City, just to be clear, it's got one of the highest municipal governments. It's not like this is a small government place. The question of are the services up to how much people are paying for them?
And I think it is something that I think about often, because as much as I think about public goods, I think about public excellence. Right? We don't want to try and convince a New Yorker in a conversation about the worth of something. We want to be able to prove it to them through what it is that we're delivering. And I think that's where it comes back to, is that the taxes that we're calling for on the wealthiest of the wealthy, the most profitable corporations of those that do business here in New York, they are ones that we would then use that revenue to transform the lives of every New Yorker.
All right, chat, I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna have Chris on this week. I know I originally said today, but we had to reschedule. I will let you guys know if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe it'll be Thursday. We're gonna have Chris Robb on, running for Philadelphia rep. So we're gonna have him on. I'm gonna send you guys over to Vio. This is probably Vio's last stream for a while. So if you could stay there and be nice to Vio, I would really appreciate it. And I forgot to shill today, so go ahead and be nice to VO. All right, everybody. I will see you guys soon. Solidarity forever. Socialism will win. We have another centrist shooter on our hands. And I will see you guys, gals, non-binary pals, here tomorrow. See ya. Take it easy. Free Palestine.